Sirius XM Sports presents At the Races with Steve Bick. Horse racing, handicapping, interviews. This is At the Races with Steve Bick.
From Sagi Pimlico, a very good Wednesday race fan. Sirius, I almost said the old number. Sirius 162, XM 207, Sports Zone 999. If you're listening to Sirius XM online and at our website, stevebick.com, the first day of the inclement, not the nice weather set upon us last night, and the first casualty actually was today's Breeze show at Timonium, postponed. It's just not fair to the 2-year-old preparers. They do all the work, and they get one shot at a Breeze, so they're at the very least they'd like it. In fact, Woodbury, put that headset on, and we got a treat this morning. We got the one and only, as we call him, the man with 4 names. C. Beal Woodbury Payne. Good morning.
Good morning. Now they're throwing another one at me. Judge.
Oh, because that's true. That's true, because you're up in the stand.
They were throwing that at me downstairs this morning. How are you, Judge?
That's pretty good. All right. So now it's Judge Curtis Beal Woodbury Payne. I love it. There's room for more. Go to law school like Drew Malika. You could be Esquire. Of course, Wood is principally the one of the stewards for National Steeplechase, but also when you're at Saratoga, you're very often like an alternate, like a standby.
Well, I'm the NSA steward, and the Jockey Club steward by law has to step down, and I fill his space, and then I'm a rope accredited flat steward in general. So.
Yeah. So in case there's somebody takes ill or somebody doesn't get the things happen, you can stand in. There's always got to be an extra, right? An extra steward hanging around.
Well, New York's blessed because it has some other officials that are rope certified as well, like Juan Dominguez.
Oh, and who has stepped in under the circumstances involving what's her name that was let go?
Yeah,
Samantha. Yeah. I got material for you, so it's very opportune you came up here. And of course Wood's here because there's no Breeze show today.
Well, and I obviously have to like you to climb all those stairs to get because I don't risk that one elevator and the other one's broken.
Well, the old elevator, the one that's really retired because they couldn't find the one guy in Baltimore who has fixed it for years. All of a sudden, it just wasn't answering the phone. So I'll put a picture up. It's the funniest thing. They've taken steel plate, like a thin steel plate, and they've bolted it to the doors so that nobody can pry the doors open. And for those of you that ever were fans of L.A. Law, there's the famous exit by one of the lawyers down an elevator shaft. They've sealed those doors.
I think this was Otis's prototype.
This thing. It's one of the great. I never got stuck in it, but there's plenty of supposedly. It may be all apocryphal. It may be all people making up stories.
No, I just spoke to one of the guys that said he was stuck in there for 15 minutes.
Well, 15 minutes is one thing. Yeah. I believe on a Preakness day. Maybe 15, 16, maybe, in the 15 to 18 year ago range. Ray Pollock, I think, is the guy to go to for this. I believe Ray and Ray, if you're listening, you confirm this. A group got stuck in there for like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Well, I think, Shane, who works here, was a racing official and got stuck in between races. So.
Well, and this morning, see, the stair climb is usually not completely awful because you got the first escalator from 1 to 2, and then the escalator from 2 to 4. It was big, long, but it wasn't turned on this morning. It's not that it's broken. It wasn't turned on for some reason. So you had to hoof from the second to the fourth, and then there's like a parapet stairs up to the press box level, and it's good. It's good for though. I was huffing a little. I'll admit it. I got to me this morning. Luckily, I keep the equipment up here, so I didn't have to schlep the bag up. But I don't know if you heard yesterday. Peter Bradley was on. How about the 2000 Guineas win?
Peter is excellent.
Yeah,
and I thought Day of the Spa was a great story. This might equal it.
Yeah, he said it's funny that you reference Day at the Spa, because he said I said, where does this fit as for wins, and he said, well, I've always said Day at the Spa, but he said this may get right up there.
Well, I had a half day, so I was rooting for that horse all along.
Which I didn't even realize that.
Of course, it didn't turn out, unfortunately. But anyway,
well, we talked about the marketplace a little bit, and he hadn't been on in a few years, and he's always interesting. And of course, he was the person that between Sid and we'll talk to Sid later this morning, that kind of opened up the world in terms of the ability at this time of year, and not just this time of year, but he brokers stallion seasons.
Yes,
as a business.
He's one of the go-to people for that.
Yeah, and that includes some real opportunities for because not everybody's just operating with a broodmare band. You got people that you may have a mare. You may have a mare that got nicked up in the last 30 days, and now you're thinking, I mean, do we wait? Is 6 months? Is how long is she going to be out? And should we breed her? Yes, you can take her off the racetrack, and there's time, and these late season, there's bargains to be had. I mean, big names, big names. I taught Tina that. I taught Tina, just because that's the price on the sign doesn't mean that's what you have to pay.
No. Bradley Thoroughbreds.
BradleyThoroughbreds.com, exactly. I told you last week when I saw you, and we had a nice time in Nashville. Obviously, that was they had an exquisite day. If it's half as nice here on Saturday, the forecast, folks, I don't even know if there's any point in giving you the forecast. I should tell you that Indy is off the turf today. They got more rain, and they're sloppy to start the day, it seems. I retweeted Rachel McLaughlin, and so those two stakes are off the turf, which is really too bad. And we'll reevaluate them, actually, because I didn't write it up for that reason, because I had a feeling that they were in trouble. And here, the percentage hasn't changed a lot. It's in the 60 to 70% chance, but that number doesn't mean anything if the rain doesn't come until late in the day, which is seemingly for now the forecast. So we'll check again. I always say wait till 48 hours out, but not a good few days. And today, not only today is it wet, it's cold and windy.
Yeah.
So not a great morning for the gallops as well. I didn't even, I was waiting for them to come out, and they didn't. So
Well, they've protected the turf course here. I had 2 horses in great spots last week, and we were off the grass each time, unfortunately. So
let me ask you about the topic. Dick Powell will join us, and by the way, I just put up Dick's play. Oh, and let me also do this. Brian Dorenzo is handling the loading of the show on YouTube, and thanks to Brian for that. So you can again I'm not putting a camera, for those that say, oh, you should put a, no, I'm not putting a camera. No, thank you. Nobody has to look at me for 3 hours as well.
Well, you're photogenic. Look at Facebook.
Well, that's very kind. But here, let me put that link back up too. Again, and it's Brian's page, and it's we're going to have to formalize it. And by the way, we cannot, for the life of us, figure out what has gone on with the RSS feed at iTunes that is leaving the a couple of different shows at the top of the page. If you just have to scroll down, but it's been going on for weeks, and nobody that I've asked and brought in, nobody can figure it out. So I'm sorry about that part of it, but I'm not. We just don't know. We don't know what else to do. The pick 3 with Dick, 239 with 2412 with 126. 239 with 2412 with 126. All right, Dick will join us in just a couple of minutes after I utilize Woodbury's extensive appreciation and know-how with mouthpieces and with bits. I reached out. You've done this with us many times when Rudy Rodriguez showed up with the Hackamore,
right?
And nobody had really, other than very experienced horsemen had knew what it was or had seen it, and you explained it, and we actually went through a whole litany of bits, elevator bits and ring bits, etc. The situation with Sierra Leone, it is, everybody says, oh, they've got to train him. No, whoa. The training is one thing, but what can be done in terms of headgear and bits that could make it easier for Tyler Gaffalione to control him?
Well, first of all, I don't want to second guess a trainer, and I'm not there, so I don't know the absolute situation. But if it were myself, I would be looking for a change of equipment and maybe start off with something general that wouldn't pull through a horse's mouth quite so easily as a D-bit or a egg butt snaffle. I'm not even certain what the horse runs in right now. I'd be inclined to go with a full cheek snaffle, which has prongs on both sides and can give a little extra guidance. We use that with the show horses to start them off with, and it's a great teaching bit, and it's a kind bit. Or you could have gone with a driving bit, which is just 2 prongs, a snaffle bit with 2 prongs pointed down, and you see it on harness horses quite a bit. Or you could go with something like a rubber ring bit with the prongs, and then the ring that kind of helps with the tongue, and it's still a snaffle jointed bit. Probably don't need something so drastic as going to a run out bit or button bit or burrs. There's all matter of equipment, and they're extremes. And then sometimes things are so bad you go with an extended cup blinker.
Wood, let me pause for a second, because the word just came from the office here, and Muth has scratched. Muth spiking a temperature Tuesday night, and last night here, basically shipping fever, essentially. No?
Probably.
Wow.
Changes the whole complexion.
Well, now the focus certainly goes to outside to Imagination, who already expected to be on the pace, and then you would think there's a lot of conversation about Seize the Gray and Dean Wayne. But, I mean, the horse, certainly the horse that is immediately compromised by this would be Catching Freedom, and the late runners are in trouble on that front. Wow. Yikes. It happens at, obviously it happens leading up to Derby, and now it is happening here. Preakness morning line favorite move declared out of Saturday's Preakness after spiking a temperature post-arrival at Preakness. 103, no choice but to scratch. Well, all right, we'll deal with that.
A temperature of 103?
Yeah.
That's a significant temperature,
Yeah, exactly.
too. So,
Exactly.
wish the horse the best. And
well, it's one after another, and it doesn't, it doesn't let up.
now you know why trainers have gray hair.
Yeah, exactly. Or no hair. there's
popular.
plenty with no hair. All right, back to Woodbury Payne joining us this morning with the cancellation of the Bree show at Timonium, and they'll try to. I mean, they may grapple with this for a little bit, but they got time, right? I mean, we don't. Monday, Tuesday is the sale.
Monday, Tuesday's the sale. They're going Thursday, Friday now. Traditionally, they try not to buck up against Black-Eyed Susan Day, and certainly they don't want to buck up against Preakness Day, but the welfare of the horse is going to be paramount to everybody in their decision. So,
well, and the welfare is one thing, of course, but also, I mean, the quality of the work, and wanting to see the horse. I mean, one of the reasons that certain developers of 2-year-olds choose this sale is to breeze over dirt, and not that the OBS synthetic is a negative, but they may have a horse that just is going to do its best work over a dirt track.
yeah. Well, and I spoke with Max Hodge yesterday from Fasig, asking about this situation because the forecast was so bad, and they've got multiple scenarios, and they might add more horses to a given day for the show and extend it a little bit longer. They have workarounds.
Back to our conversation. I reached for Wood. He's our go-to man for bet conversation, and there's so many nuanced aspects to horses' performance that we get a chance to talk about. That honestly the lay public just does not and isn't going to readily understand, and this is one of them. Shoeing is another, and angle of the hoof and the way a farrier shods a horse and handles feet, and is adept at helping balance a horse with the hoof angle. There's so many of these things, and when horses change outfits, and when horses get claimed, and there's things that that horseman B didn't see, that horseman A did see, and makes adjustments, and I mean it so many different things, and not even with barn changes. I mean, most famously, I think my first understanding of all this and appreciation for it came with Funny Side, and the references by Robin Smulin and Barkley about having a tender mouth and having had bad some teeth and dental work, and then the bad experience with a metal, like a snaffle bit, right?
Right. Well, you can change the composition of the bit to rubber,
Yep.
copper,
Leather.
leather. Say Houghton bit typically is a straight bar bit covered in leather and can give you guidance in either direction. And you also referenced something that I was going to point out that might not occur to people, the general public, but dental is key in horses, particularly 3-year-olds. Their mouths change every few weeks because they're shedding caps. They can get tough spots.
Wolf teeth with jagged edges.
Well, usually the wolf teeth are rough, yearling, 2-year-old year, and most people remove those. But you can just get sharp edges in your mouth, and then just take it from personal experience. How it changes the way you chew, or can put a sore on the inside of your mouth.
Exactly, and then if they're not comfortable, or if there's pain associated, discomfort associated with even putting on a halter, putting on the headgear.
Strangely enough, a horse's ears can bug them sometimes. And just the pressure of the headstall can cause a problem there.
These are all things that you need to have an appreciation for, and it's one of the parts of that to me makes this fascinating. And also to some degree, it can be a little maddening when you see, we're in an era where we've got these, this instantaneous public declaration of whatever, a public that doesn't have an understanding, saying ridiculous things. I see it right now this morning. I just put up the Muth scratch, and right away you got stupidity spewing. It's maddening.
67 years old, and I'm still learning.
Look at that. There it is. How many? What? I'm going to have to reach for shortly for Dick Powell.
I'd love to go to Hong Kong with him.
There you go. I'd love to go, but it's just the timing. It's a weird. The time to go is for those December races. That's the best opportunity. And listen, I want to go to Melbourne Cup, but it's got to be that perfect timing after with Breeders' Cup. It's got a West Coast Breeders' Cup that you can then light out. But at the same time, don't you want to go when you want to go to something like Melbourne Cup? I don't want to get there to have the race the next day, and then you want to be there for the carnival, for the cup in the week or two. Give everybody an update. We'll be together at Colonial, of course. My God, in June, July. It's probably about 10 weeks, maybe.
Well, the stable area opens in June, and the first day of training is June 27th. And, of course, the first day of racing, I believe, is July the 11th, which is also opening day at Saratoga.
Well, it's going to be a busy summer between Saratoga kickoff, Haskell week 2, the HPPA convention at Prairie Meadows, Arlington Million, Kings Plate, and then a couple of nice weeks at Alabama and Travers, and closing week at Saratoga, and then Kentucky for Kentucky Downs and the Keeneland Sale. I mean, it's so funny because people are like, "Oh, this is your busy time." Well, there's the Triple Crown, yes, and now Iroquois, in there as well, but the lead up to Triple Crown is crazy, and then to be honest, Triple Crown, these 5 weeks, 6, 7 weeks really, with the 2 weeks in Louisville, they're very measured. They're very they're very organized. Then after that, though, I mean, it basically Derby kicks off. I said this the other day to somebody, and Derby kicks off this, the middle part of the year that really accelerates. I mean, there's no turning back now. You've got to be sending the 2-year-olds out to their respective barns. How many you got left at Ingleside?
67 right now,
Wow.
but and we've sent out about 28 so far this month.
Wow.
But
How many over the course of a winter, September to June, I guess, right? Is that the training period? Or beyond, it keeps going because...
well, we're year round because we race and we start getting yearlings in early with the certified program and do layups and rehabs. We're a year-round operation. We're not like some of the Ocala outfits that, that place is just too hot in the summertime to do too much. So,
Good point.
And I've got good staff. I want to keep them around all year so I don't have to struggle as well.
Well, the system, the program in Virginia, and considering how often and how loudly there's this refrain of doom and gloom. There are so many places where things are robust, and the pendulum swing in Virginia from a dead stop to a vibrant racetrack, a brilliant stratagem of the certification program, and expanded TBs, and in a marketplace that was starving for them, with all the transplants in and around D.C. and Northern Virginia. And you already had, this really healthy equestrian heritage. It's unbelievable what has happened, and the dates are going to continue to expand.
Sirius XM Radio.
The PA Horse Breeders Association has a remarkable story to tell. North America's most lucrative awards program also produces Grade 1 winners year after year. Of all the great PA breds, none is more well-known, more iconic than Smarty Jones. We salute Smarty on the 20th anniversary of his wins in the first two jewels of the 2004 Triple Crown, at the time becoming only the third ever undefeated Preakness champ.
Racing 2-year-olds in California, Kentucky, please consider Bleeder Shield, the leading all-natural paste used to greatly reduce or eliminate EIPH. The list of trainers who trust Bleeder Shield is endless. Shouldn't you join the team? To learn more, contact Joseph Vellante at 215-501-6880.
Is it Wi-Fi or satellite link?
Back now at Pimlico, and sorry about that. Not sure what, I know the modem was lit, so I don't know why, not sure why the signal dropped. But back, Woodbury Payne with us, and I'm not sure exactly when we, what you heard and what you didn't hear, but we were just talking Virginia. But before that, and I tweeted it. In fact, let me see what the timing was on the tweet. You probably did hear it then, that Muth is out of Saturday's Preakness after spiking a temperature overnight. It's kind of a classic, post-ship shipping fever, as they call it, and a high temp, too, as Woodbury said, 103. So Muth out and changes the dynamic in a big way, and from a morning line standpoint, with Muth's absence, obviously Mystic Dan becomes your favorite, and now it'll also shake up the expectation on pace, that part of it. And we'll start to, this is why it's a little silly to be putting together, multi-race wagers, 4 days before, 5 days before an event like this, because these kinds of things, you don't know, you have no idea yet what kind of a track we're going to see, and by all rights now, it turns out you didn't really know what the field composition was going to be. So, in fact, here, let me turn to, I'm going to go to Timeform, and, they had Imagination already as the early leader. Actually have both of Lucas's horses prominent, and Muth was essentially sitting as second, third early. So now you got to figure one of the Lucases and Imagination are your pace setters. Mystic Dan, you would think now Brian Hernandez, will especially with Muth out next to him, Catching Freedom will be to his inside, Uncle Heavy and Mugatu, and none of those three are going to be showing early foot. So Brian Hernandez Jr. gets the exact same scenario that he saw 2 weeks ago. He'll be able to get to you don't necessarily have to get to the rail here, but you would think he would, set up shop behind whichever Lucas and Imagination. So he's probably going to sit third, I would imagine, early. Well, no Muth in this, and we'll see about Keith Fustel about a reworked morning line. Wood, I've got to get Dick Powell in here too, but unfortunately we missed a few minutes of a conversation about how strong things are in Virginia, and the between the HHR and the relaunch of Colonial, the certification program, barns full, 20 employees. Woodbury has it as hands at Ingleside Training Center, and it's so healthy and productive. The number he quoted, almost 1 $7 generated for every dollar in equine expenditure. So the impact has been phenomenal. So we're looking forward to getting back to Colonial.
Yeah, 84 million
84 million
in direct impact. So
and does that include tax revenue?
I'm not certain about that because I haven't had a chance to study the.
Now this all gets back to the topic we've visited many times about influence in the halls of state governments, and driving home the point like this, and there's certain places where the relationship is very strong and highly.
Well, long and short is that they were worried about money going out of state.
Right.
No, it's bringing at least 6 times more money into the state.
Well, and after we get back from Baltimore, I had a very interesting conversation with Gigi Lazenby, who was highly involved in the effort in South Carolina. And I think people will remember about 5 months ago, we tried to urge people to contribute to the letter writing campaign to South Carolina legislators. A ton of work had gone in, several years worth of work, to trying to get the opportunity for pari-mutuel wagering in South Carolina. And not only, there was an expectation they were going to get a vote in the legislature. The last second, they got shut out of even bringing it to the floor in South Carolina, which is it feels like they had the rug pulled out from under them. But I absolutely will want Gigi Lazenby to explain what went on.
Kip Elser has been involved in
that too,
as well as Dwight Hall.
So, and it's funny because I brought up because Mrs. Lazenby involved with Exacta Systems, and I brought up Tom Aronson's name, the TVG executive, who ended up at Exacta Systems, and Tom was involved as well with this effort in South Carolina.
Well, Tom was involved in Virginia, when we first drafted the law.
One of the smartest guys in the room in whatever capacity. And here's another one, Dick Powell. Good morning. Hold on, wait a minute, Dick. There we go. Good morning.
What room are we talking about?
It doesn't matter. Whatever room, In this case, it had to do with South Carolina trying to get the possibility established for pari-mutuel wagering. Georgia has tried this as well. The Reeves and Jack.
D'Amico.
Jack D'Amico, exactly. The effort in Georgia has knocked on the door several times. I've said forever that there's 37 jurisdictions where horseplay is legal, and it's an opportunity to grow. Want to talk about growing handle? Well, there's another 13 jurisdictions in the country that if you make wagering legal, pari-mutuel wagering, you'd open yourself up to another third of the country.
Yeah, and 20%. Especially that and sports betting. If let's say I decide to retire and I go to South Carolina, well, what am I going to do?
Exactly.
And especially now with the geofencing, where the phone is where it is, and you're not allowed to log into certain websites and horse racing and sports betting and things like that. So I would think just from economic development standpoint, you would want it so that people, especially us up here that seem to want to get out of here, not me though, I'll be the last one standing. It's a factor. It's not a big factor, but it is a factor. The other really disappointing thing, and this is all politics, everything gets lumped together, and if you get it through a committee, you should get on the House vote and have people vote. And instead, the leadership of each house controls everything down to the small t, and nothing ever gets done, and then no one's ever accountable. Oh, I'm in favor of this, but I'm against these things. New York, we take everything, put it together, call it a budget, and the word is the big ugly, because they passed this law with the budget that has everything attached to it, and so that it would get passed. On its own, it might not get passed. So things like this, it's just let people vote. That's why we elect people. We don't elect people just to dominate the process. But I mean, New York, we had 3 men in the room. We still have 3 men in the room. It's 2 men and a woman now. But it's all controlled by leadership, and that slows down everything and makes it impossible to move things. So this should have been done a while back, and still struggling to get through.
Dick, we'll pick up a couple of conversation points in a moment, but 4 minutes to post for the 7th at Happy Valley, and I sent out the pick 3 play earlier. Why don't you give a quick top line explainer on how you approach this? 3x3x3, 239 with 2-4-12 with 1-2-6.
Yeah, race 7, we're going 2 turns, and going 2 turns at Happy Valley. If you draw 10, 11, 12, you're really up against it. Now, I did use the 10, so I did go 2, 3, 9 here, because the 10 just looks like he has more than enough quality, especially dropping from class 3 to class 4. So I'll make an exception for him, but the one taking the money is the 5, Holy Power, has really been bet tonight. So I'm not on him. So we got to beat him, but we'll get good prices with 2 and 9. So 2, 3, 9 in this race. Race 8 is a 6 furlong class 4. Some young horses, not that much experience. The 2 Double Bingo ran well first time out, and then came back and was the beaten favorite next time out. But I think he's still on an improve. He's only 3. He's getting better. He draws well. Nothing not to like. The 4 Prime Water, I used him even from the 11 because he gets a little bit of weight off. But Angus Chung, he gets 3 pounds off, and that should help him. And then not way outside, the low weight here is number 12, Harmony and Home, and just has a big late kick. These horses do win at Happy Valley. You'd think with the short stretch they wouldn't, but he can, and he has. So 2, 4, 12. In the second leg, third leg, it looks pretty logical. The 2 is very tough, co-partner Prince, but I threw in the 1 Winning IC with Ellis Wong getting in very light, and the 6 Never Too Soon, coming off a big race. Maybe he could run back. And he was second behind co-partner Prince, who picks up a lot of weight off that win. So 1, 2, 6 in the last leg.
Excellent. All right. We've got 2 minutes. Now, actually, a minute. Let me pull up the video. And there's some internet issues here today. So we're very sluggish. So I don't know how good the feed is going to be. And I'm getting my answer. The feed is going to be for crap here. So we may talk through. And this won't even. Just amazing. Yeah, you're not going to be able to listen to the play. It's all chopped up. Dick, while they circle, how about the weekend recap? And I don't know if you had a chance yesterday to hear Peter Bradley celebrating Metropolitan's win. We'll make this an international report. How about Peter catching the 2000 Guineas win?
Yeah, that's awesome. That really is. The Hong Kong last week, we finally had some firm turf at Shot 10, so we had faster running times than we've been used to. Only 3 favorites won last week, so 3 out of 19. And amazingly, after having 6 winners the week before, Zach Purton gets shut out last weekend. 2 days of racing, 19 races. So Zach's been he's still the leading rider, no problem there. But he wins in bunches, but this year's been, in sports betting they call it variance, and he's had a high level of variance because he wins a lot and then he doesn't win a lot. So last week was one of those weeks where he didn't win a lot, so the prices were pretty good, and the favorites only won a couple on Sunday. Do you have audio, Steve? The red light's going. They're in the gate.
No. Yeah,
Okay.
Forget it.
No problem.
There's no way you're going to get this thing broadcast. A joke.
It's 2024. Well, you have such expectations. Come on.
Yeah.
So, this weekend we have Shot 10 Sunday morning, and I don't know. I was up early today, even with the clouds. Once it's bright, I'm up. And you wake up and you got a couple of races from Shot 10 early Sunday morning. So that's perfect for me. Now, does it work pari-mutually? No. I'm in a slump at Shot 10, do real well at Happy Valley. And Shot 10, I just can't explain it. It's not zoned in the way I should be. But we'll try again this week. Next week we'll be on Wednesday from Happy Valley. And in 2 weeks from Saturday, we got the Chater Cup, the last Group 1 of the season, mile and a half. Rebels Romance has either arrived or already on his way. I know Aiden was thinking of bringing Tower of London, and those two would be two real good international additions. Rebels Romance, he won the Breeders' Cup Turf, and then last year he just had a strange year, including falling down in a race. So you don't see that very often. And Applebee's not only got him back, but they've changed his running style where he runs up on or near the pace. So we saw in the Breeders' Cup he came from off the pace. Now he's a pace prompter, and he seems to relish that role. So he'll be very tough in Hong Kong.
Hold on. Woodbury's phone is going to save us here.
It's gone from being very keen to not travelling at all. Next then came Mr. Aladdin, Holy Power. Turin Warrior looking to sneak runs through over on the inside. Nice Birdie is at the head of the rest as they come down the straight. 250 left to go. Gallant Crowder trying to shake off on the outside Dragon Star, but he won't go away, Dragon Star. And here's Satanta barreling home down the outside from last. Satanta after Dragon Star and Gallant Crowd. He gets them all. Satanta from last for Luke Ferraris is one for Mark Newnham. Right down the centre to either knock off in second Gallant Crown or Dragon Star. Mr. Aladdin, Nice Birdie. Turin Warrior, Holy Power, Affordable, Gallant Hero. Family Fortune behind them with running ahead. And he would have been about one of the last...
7-4 there, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, those three horses had one thing in common. I didn't have anything. The Satanta took a lot of money. He was third behind Turin Warrior, who did take money also, the three. And Satanta two back. Last time kind of ran one pace, had a kind of a rough trip. Comes back from post 8 and just mows them down. Wow, he was terrific. And not really, not a whole lot of value in that because I thought he should have been higher. One reason why I didn't go on with him. But Satanta wins the first leg of the treble, the pick 3 at Hong Kong. Happy go.
5-1, and the 4 Dragon Star was 9-2, and in fact, this was really one of those races where the public had real trouble separating this field. Turin Warrior was 3-1, Dragon Star 9-2, Holy Power 4-1, 5-1 on Satanta, 7-1 on Mr. Aladdin. So you had 5 horses within $4.
Yeah, when I wrote down the odds early this morning, you could see this is going to be tough because you got 6 to pick from, and you got to try to get the right 3 out of the 6. So Satanta does it.
Well, if you want to regroup and go for the double, 2-4-12 with 1-2-6 in the 8th and the 9th. There's your late action, and of course, very often, if we get knocked out in that first leg, Dick, we come back and catch the double. So we'll keep an eye on that. Dick, we got a little less than 10 minutes. Are you doing Friday, Saturday analysis again?
I'm doing. I'm doing Saturday, and you
Okay.
know, me being a team player, I'm like, well, I'm going to get this done last night, and I filed it about 9:00 last night, only to wake up and find out about Booth. So, wow, that's a shock. And Woodbury's right, 103. That's a high fever. And for the general public, the fever knocks him out because he has to be treated, and the medications needed to treat it are not allowed on a race day. So not only sometimes always gets a fever and it's fine the next day, but the medication is still going to be in their system, and he can't do it. So that's a big shock. I had a big negative, not a big negative. I had a negative on both Baffert horses. So I was not enamored with them. And I go back to the Breeders' Cup where Fierceness goes out there and just crushes the 2-year-olds. And the 3-year-olds this year were okay, but the San Diego Derby winner came to the Kentucky Derby and didn't really show much. And yeah, if Nysos was in the race, yeah, Nysos he's the one. So I was fully prepared to go against Bob anyway. And now it's just going to affect odds and things like that.
Well, and speaking of odds, I mean, Mystic Dan becomes the favorite, but in a reworked odds scenario, I mean, how much does his line move? Really, he was 5-2. Does he go down to 2-1? I don't think he doesn't feel like a 9-5 in there, right?
No, I agree. It'll be interesting. Did they gravitate to the other Baffert with Johnny, or who's on the other Baffert? Frankie or Johnny?
Dettori on
Frankie. Yeah, Frankie's on the other one.
Juan Hernandez was riding Muth,
Right.
so his best chance in a classic. But the price. I won't call it a beneficiary because the people that wanted to bet Tuscan Gold, they're going to be nauseous over this because it's going to cut his price. I mean, his price was already 8-1 was already too high, but now Tuscan Gold 9-2, 4-1.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. And it'll be interesting because there's going to be now different pace dynamics. And does Frankie get an easy lead from the outside? Does he just stalk out there? It's going to be interesting. Wet track, who knows? Even with the favorite, when American Pharoah ran in the Preakness, I mean, there's no way he can lose. He's that good. But I had a gigantic exacta with Divining Rod. And that I'm 1-2. You know, American Pharoah's drawn away, and Divining Rod is clear second. I'm looking at a lot of money. And here comes Dallas Stewart to beat me out for second. So I thought I found a way of taking an odds-on heavy favorite and having a big score, but Dallas gotten away on that one. And Divining Rod's actually become a nice little regional sire in Maryland.
very much country life, and I hope their party doesn't get dampened, and everybody has to rally into the house. You're done?
Yeah. I need Dick, look forward to seeing you at Belmont at Saratoga, and I've got to go meet Ferris.
You're going to Delaware?
Yeah.
All right. Ferris Allen with a pair today at Delaware, and the little track that could. Woodbury, thank you. This was fabulous.
Sure. I hope to
All
see
right,
you for
Woodbury.
crab cake.
I'll see you when you get up here.
All right. Thank you, Dick. Look forward to it.
Okay.
All right. Woodbury Payne, everybody, and great to. There we go. Checks. Thanks, Wood. That was fabulous. Obviously this whole Preakness is going to now is going to require a reorientation, and I mean the horse whose chances seems to be really enhanced is Mystic Dan, right? I mean, it opens up. Not that he didn't have every opportunity anyway, but it sure feels like as is often the case, the Derby winner will be the focus on Saturday.
Now, Ken McPeak's reticence to, commit to the race until last weekend, does that concern you?
No, I was there. I was there in the morning, and the specific concern had been how much that he left 3/4 of feet on Saturday night, and then another 24 and 36 hours later, he was better, and he was. I thought as soon as I saw him Wednesday, the video that Sean Collins from Blood Horse put up Wednesday with his ears up and wanting to do more in that first return to the track, I realized he's fine. He's going to be, he's coming. So no, that doesn't concern me at all. Everybody, Baffert himself even talked about in that piece with Dave Grenning, talked about looking at Lucky. He came out of that Derby and the one hole, and they were despondent and thought, forget it, and we're and then 24 hours, 48 hours later. Wait a minute, he's fine, and they get so much fitness. They're already fit, ideally, coming into Derby. Then you go 10 panels, and they get, there's some natural, expulsion of energy, but they're going to be as fit as they've ever been in their life, ideally, out of that.
Yes, and it's a smaller sample, especially nowadays, but I would show people that your horse ran his best race ever in the Preakness off 2 weeks rest. And Big Brown, Funny Side. There's a whole list of them, how great they were in the Preakness with the 2 weeks rest. Now, can you do that all season? No. I get what trainers want, but for an individual race, it's not a big deal. They're fully capable of doing it, and Mystic Dan is, especially, he had not a layoff, but he won, and then he had some time. Then he was third in New York Derby, but then he has time after that. So he hasn't been a hard race coming into this. And so I think 2 weeks, no problem for him, no problem for the others, for Catch and Freedom and the Lucas horse. They'll be fine. And sometimes it moves them forward. Horses fool you. You're trying to get them ready, and then you get a good hard race in them, and now they're gangbusters. So it'll be interesting. The possible wet track adds another layer. So
that's not going to hurt him either, Mystic Dan. Dick, before we go, any other opinions from for the weekend or Friday? I guess did you get any Friday looks in?
I did not look at Friday. All right. And Saturday's card is a little light, the field sizes, things like that, especially the dirt races. The turf races seem fine. I was a little surprised to see Fluffy Fox in a $100,000 stake race, but it's still a stake race, and she has lots of back class, so she should be fine. And then I'm going to give you a horse here, Stevie.
All right, cool.
Find one of the turf races.
And I think one of the reasons Chad bringing Fluffy, I mean she likes it here, right? She won not the Edgewood, the
well, she won it at the Selma. She won in 2020, I think.
Yes. Yes.
In race 12, the dinner party, I'm going with Frankie and Phil D'Amato.
Nice.
Balnikov. One-dimensional closer. Might get turf that he likes. He closes well on firm turf, so not worried about that. And, he can save ground. It's a mile and an eighth. I know he wants to go longer, but there's a bunch of horses in here that want to go longer. But I think they'll be all running hard through the stretch. And I think with any kind of Frankie magic, save ground first turn, see what happens. If I can find a seam, I think he has a good enough late kick to run these down. So race 12, number 3, Balnikov. There's a preview for you.
Excellent. I appreciate it. Dettori aboard for D'Amato, who's actually got a couple floating around on the card.
Yes.
You talked about the Saturday. That seems to happen almost every year. That the Friday card, the way the stakes, the sequence is, it just happens that that Friday ends up being a little bit more ripe. In terms of field size and the competitive side of things. Not that there aren't good betting opportunities on the Saturday card, but I should mention, and I'm sure we'll dig into it. They announced yesterday not one but two-day pick fives, and they've got the aggressive 12% takeout on their pick fives, and basically. The late races on Friday, the 10th, 11th, the 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th are the races that you're going to focus on. The first of them is the Miss Preakness and the Pimlico Special, and they lead into Saturday, the Maryland Sprint, the Sir Barton, and the Preakness. The Preakness ends both sequences, obviously. But the first opportunity comes at 4:07 with the Miss Preakness, and that came up really good. You got a field of 12 with turnbacks and a whole bunch of things. We talked to Butchie Reed on Monday about Carmelina, for instance, one of the options. It's a terrific race. And then you got the Pimlico Special for the mile and 3/8 type, and that includes Red Route 1 in here, who's we've joked about all winter with Steve Asmussen, and then the Maryland Sprint, the Sir Barton, and the Preakness. So the 10th and 12th with the 8th, 10th, 13th. 10th and 12th Friday with the 8th, 10th, 13th Saturday. Then the other pick five, the very one, starts it, and the Black-Eyed Susan. So you got the Turf Sprint and the feature, and then into Saturday, the Jim McKay, the Dinner Party, and the Preakness. All right? The very one, the Black-Eyed Susan, the Jim McKay Turf Sprint, the Dinner Party, and the Preakness. The 11th and 13th Friday with the 11th, 12th, 13th Saturday, and there'll be a lot of focus undoubtedly on these two at 12%. I mean that's a very attractive scenario.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
And there's one guy in the sports betting sphere, and all he does is gripe about racing, 25% hold, blah blah blah. And I just want to smack the guy because he's a blowhard. Number one, if your job is to get things right, you're getting things wrong, and doesn't have any comprehension on how our game works, especially at the high end where with rebates and stuff, you're not paying that kind of takeout. That isn't the rate. And they act like sports betting has like a 5% rate. Well, no, if you look at Gaming Commission reports all around the country, the hold on sports betting can be as high as 10, 12% because most people are playing parlays, which have the higher hold. So he acts like racing's, still 25% and sports betting's 5%. Oh, jeez, that's just crazy.
Well, and not only that, the sports betting platforms are limiting people's action. Yes. If you're successful, they shut you off.
If you win, you lose.
Exactly. So it's That's why, Dick, I keep saying that we're like the net under the Walendas. There's going to be there'll be some Walendas flying from from missing the snatch, and we got to be there with the net to reel them in.
It's just infuriating. I have the radio on all day on my phone. I listen to a gazillion podcasts and stuff, and just I got to get quicker on the mute button.
You'll have to tell me who this is when we get the chance, Dick.
I'll tell you who it is. It's Bill Krakenberger.
Okay. I don't
He's
listen
on
to
a lot of shows. He can be entertaining, but then when he talks about this stuff, and he says it with such certainty, like I'd love to have like a, he could be point counterpoint,
Yeah. Jane, you.
Yeah.
Jane, you ignorant slut.
Yeah.
Dick Powell, everybody, HKJC action, and not far. In fact, let's quickly check before we 9 minutes to the Garonne handicap. And again, if you want to punch up, take a shot with the late double from Dick. Let me turn back to that page. And boy, oh boy.
Well, the 12 is a nice price, so I would key box 12 with 2-4.
There you go.
2-4 logical. 12 is a nice price.
All right.
Maybe bet the 12 to win and protect with 2-4 over 12. But yeah, there's value in the 12. Getting in very light with our man Matthew Boone.
Boone. Here we go. All right, Dick. I appreciate it.
Okay, Steve.
Recap next week. I'll actually be home, which will be refreshing. Dick Powell, folks, HKJC Racing. Going to get to Sid, and I'm expecting that we'll be joined later by Graham Motion. I haven't had a chance to talk about Graham. Graham penned an opinion piece, an op-ed, etc. A guest commentary, I think, is how the Baltimore Sun. Termed it, and I sent it out this morning saying essentially that if Graham Motion is encouraged by things, then we all should be. So we'll see if Graham wants to kind of flesh out some of the points that he brought up. He's very encouraged by the progress that's been made, whether you fold in HISA and you fold in a lot of the racetrack organizations, a lot of the technological innovations that are advancing diagnostics and giving horsemen an added edge technically with big data to enhance the ability to essentially keep a horse out of harm's way. So Graham Motion in the Baltimore Sun. If you didn't see it, pull it up. Sid Fernando joins us. Sid, it's got to be killing some people. There's been nothing but positive news about horse racing for 2 weeks plus, and I'm sure that's maddening to the people that would do us harm.
It's terrible.
Right, I know. It's amazing. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, on that note, you know how we always talk about, you can't, if you get too tunnel vision in your own sphere or your own industry or your own livelihood, sometimes you don't understand that stuff like this is taking place everywhere. The reason I bring this up is last night I happened to watch his podcast, Dog World podcast, very serious dog breeding thing. And, there's this big fallout between the show world, like Westminster, which is taking place, and the working dog world. And society in general keeps weighing in. They don't like the show world because these animals are just bred for, the way they look. In the working dog world, they don't like the the way dogs are, trained for the sport IGP, which includes obedience, tracking, and protection. They don't like that. So the dog world itself is also under tremendous attack from segments of society that are against breeding of dogs, selective breeding of dogs, just like it is with horses. And then, they are also very concerned about how these dogs are trained and whatnot. And listening to these guys in the dog world, it was almost like, Jesus, this could be the racing world.
Since you brought it up, I did watch Westminster last night, and I didn't get the Monday session in, but once again they managed to foist. It's Lucy in the football every year with Westminster. They foist that toy poodle on us, and this is unbelievable. I mean, come on. And to me, I'm not a master of 200 breeds, as they say about whatever her name was that did the judging. To me, the Afghan was a stand. I thought the Afghan stood out, and of course they've got a brain the size of a pea and are dumb as bricks, but they really are something to look at. And that one, I thought that one was exceptional. There was a lot of black on that stage last night. The Schnauzer was black. The black poodle. And no matter how many times they said the word ASCOB, the acronym, no matter how many times they said ASCOB, they couldn't stop the black dogs. The German Shepherd had another. That German Shepherd, right? That's the same German Shepherd that the young German Shepherd, right, from the last couple of years.
I think so. I'm not sure, but if you noticed, in fact, I'm glad you got on the Shepherd because one of the huge complaints now is that the way they're being bred, they're way too big. They're bigger than the breed standard, and they're overangulated. Which the working dog world can't even use those dogs because they can't even jump. So, in every sphere, getting back to how I started this thing, there's conflict about what other people are doing, and other people, the general populace, through political machinations, gets involved, and then that leads to, in the dog world, they're petrified right now that there's going to be government interference. And that's taking place actually in Europe right now, where they've banned protection sports in Austria, for example. So, as I'm watching watching this podcast and then thinking about our own industry, the racing world, I mean, Steve, the parallels of the tensions and the political involvement and this inability, quote unquote, to self-police, these are all ingredients that are taking place everywhere. I'm sure if we looked into something else, it would be there too.
That's interesting, and you've made sort of referenced that before. Now listen, we one thing our conversations always seem to echo or touch on is how interconnected and how many parallels there are to society at large. In all the things that that are challenging or just simply apparent in our industry, and people wring their hands over certain things, and it's like what do you mean? I mean it's all around us. There's it's nothing that we go through is.
It's unique.
Exactly. I mean, it's a unique business. Yes,
right.
And it's a lifestyle business, but it's not, the
It's not immune to the larger societal,
no.
concerns about everything. And also, I find it interesting that, politicians get, in the dog world, for example, they were talking about how certain people that want to abolish certain things, they've curried favor with politicians. Politicians then think for society, oh, wow, they have no interest in it other than for their own self-benefit. Oh, this is a great card to use to get popularity, because the population seems to feel this way. And so they put their 2 cents into it, get prompted to pass legislation. And can you see the similarities?
Yeah. The what I've always called the 80-20 rule, for instance, in terms of the predominance of the quote unquote super trainer outfits. It's no different than virtually any industry where 15 to 20% of any entities control the vast volume, all the consolidations, railroads, telecommunications, every single consumer products. It's no different, and it kind of makes you wonder what the people that complain about certain things, Sid. It kind of makes you wonder what they actually do. What's their livelihood? Because they have to. You would imagine that they're experiencing the same thing. I'll give you 2 crazy ones that I've just noticed from my travels around the country.
Go ahead.
Real estate brokers and legal firms. I'm seeing the same legal firm nationwide. I'm seeing the between Sotheby's and there's another the HH, whatever the HH realtor is, suddenly is all over the country. I mean, that was always not always a regional thing or a local thing, but I see some legal firms with billboards literally from California to Kentucky to Connecticut. So there's obviously consolidation in those arenas. There's so many others. It's just and in fact I was with an old food service associate of mine, Mark Eden, who started out as a regional broker in D.C., Baltimore. In Kensington, and I hired him when I was the regional manager for Dannon Yogurt, and Mark ended up becoming a national. His operation ended up being a broker that was nationwide, sold to even a larger nationwide food broker, and he says there are no more. There are very few like little regional or local brokers, representing food lines anymore.
That's a really good point you brought up, especially about the people that are complaining or whatever. They've got to be doing something. Imagine a scenario where person A is a huge racing fan, but in his private life, what his job is, he's a mid-level guy that works for a big corporation. His job is to go out there, talk to smaller companies, do the groundwork for the bigger people in his firm to swallow that company up and include it under its umbrella. You know what I'm saying? Now, at the same time, this person is a big racing fan, and he criticizes the concept of consolidation in racing while he's a participant in society.
Check 1 2.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just interesting when you start to put the magnifying glass outside the sport into other arenas, and then gain some perspective of what's happening in your own quote unquote sport.
Exactly, and whatever arena you're in, just look around. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do, and you'll realize it's the same. It's the same all over, as the saying goes.
And you could say it's the same malaise too. I mean, it's very. We're not making a judgment call on that. We're just making a judgment on the fact that so many people prescribe solutions for this industry as if it's a standalone, apart from what's taking place everywhere else in the country or the world.
Exactly right. Well, what's going on here, Sid? We just lost the Preakness favorite in the last hour. Which is disheartening. Spikes of fever, and not unusual when you ship across country. You put them on a plane, so changes things a little bit. But let me ask you, maybe take a look at some of the faces that are new to the Triple Crown season. I mean, frankly, we discussed actually pretty much almost everybody.
Well, I think Tuscan Gold is an interesting horse.
Yep.
It's Stone Street breeding, and Stone Street for generations, and they sold this horse, and obviously kept an interest in it because it's co-owned by them, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't it Bill Lawrence and Stone Street that owns Tuscan Gold?
It is.
And
also
family,
and Walmack too. Walmack's in there.
Oh, Walmack, right? Yeah, and it's from the family of Complexity. A Sprinter by McLean's Music. So it's an interesting pedigree. Now, what's kind of unique about this is he's by Medaglia d'Oro, who is an outstanding stallion, but think about this. Medaglia d'Oro has never really had an impact on the classics, has he?
No.
Yeah. Even though he's an outstanding stallion and has more than 100 stakes winners, whatnot, he's really not had a impact here. So that's something to be put out there. On the flip side, though, his trainer Chad Brown has had very good success in this particular classic. And even though he's won it, he was even second last year by, beating ahead. He seems to have the ability to realize which horse is good for which race. And in this particular case, you get a sire that's never had success in the classics and a trainer that's been particularly great in this race. Sources, according to Chad Brown, his work the other day was the best he's ever worked. That's what he said, even though, it was 49, I think, and change. The horse does have some decent form from that Louisiana Derby. I think he was fourth in that, right? So he's one of these horses that, even though the pedigree might suggest otherwise, the trainer, you got to count him in, especially at the price. So I think that you've got to use this horse for a 1-2-3 finish.
And he's going to be most negatively impacted by the scratch of Muth because certainly attention. I mean, he's going to move him up. He was already going to be, well less than that 8-1, and now I suggested 9-2, 4-1, and in fact, our friend Doug Nachman, Doug thinks he might be as low as 3-1, and he feels potentially right on. And I suppose I don't think Catching Freedom is necessarily a price beneficiary in here because all this having Muth come out takes some of the speed starch out, which is going to hurt his late run. So I don't see that people are going to gravitate to him, even though, there's a lot of, brand awareness. And he has paired 97 buyers off the Louisiana Derby and fourth in the Kentucky Derby. The Lucas horses are probably going to get plenty more attention. Before we talk about Seize the Gray, who I do want you to talk about, and in fact, there's a bit of a Juddmonte doubleheader, because here's Arrogate as Seize the Gray's sire. But then when we look at Tuscan Gold, Sid, how about the presence of Digression as the sire of third dam Folly Dollar, who got the Yes It's True second dam Goldfield, who got Valadorna. Digression is not a name I know he's Juddmonte.
He's a son of Blushing Groom. He was a classic horse in Europe for, I believe it was for Alan Paulson.
Well, and I think Juddmonte. I think it's a Juddmonte, right? Or did Juddmonte buy him?
Maybe it is Juddmonte. I can't recall.
Hold on.
The horses. He was the son of. Well, which digression is this?
There you go. This is a Seattle Slew son.
Oh, okay, my bad. This was the Juddmonte horse. Yes, this is the Juddmonte horse. This digression was the Seattle Slew horse, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, really didn't do anything as a stallion.
He got this dam, and by the way, last week after we were, or 2 weeks ago after we were, I guess it was last week, we were talking about Mystic Dan. Here's another full outcross, another 5x5 outcross, Tuscan Gold.
Now we're on.
We're still Tuscan Gold.
Yeah.
And that is that's a very offbeat tail female line. The fourth dam is by Torsion.
Never Been Son from the 70s, I believe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Got the fourth dam Real Precious out of Magnificent Dawn. This is interesting. Leslie Combs. This was a spendthrift. And started his career at Airdrie, and then ended up out in California ultimately. Tom Evans, interesting. Tom Evans actually bought him as a 2-year-old for $36,000. Torsion, 9-time winner, and actually did not have any stakes. Did not have a particularly. This is very interesting. Was this a sibling of somebody, Sid? Because there really was not a sparkling record. I mean, he won races, but.
Well, he was from the same crop as Secretariat. I remember him on the Triple Crown Trail. I mean, let's see what. Well, let me just pull him up to see what exactly did he do here.
Not a particularly. It's interesting that he got a chance to stand. That at all.
Well, he made a lot of starts.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Equibase doesn't have his full. But he was a graded stakes winner. But I can't pull up what it was on here.
Interesting.
Because I just went to Equibase and all they have are his last 4 starts. But they don't have any of his other starts. But he was definitely a graded stakes winner. And he was a fairly decent sire. Wonder if there's anywhere else we can find his complete the races that he won. But he. Let me try here. Torsion. It's funny because I was a teenager at the time, and I I remember this horse so well. He was by Never Bend, foaled in '70, so the same year as Secretariat and Forego. And let's see if this has anything about what he won. Well, he did win 2 sprint races at 4. He won the Almanac and the Rosebud. But guess what? He was 6th in the Preakness, the Secretariat. There it is.
There you go.
He was 6th in and he was a graded stakes winner because, he won the Almanac.
Well, and it's funny, when we talk to Tony tomorrow, Tony was in that Preakness, and yeah, I've got it here actually.
Look at the Preakness chart of Secretariat and you'll find Torsion 6th.
Yeah, Tony was 5th on Deadly Dream. Ben Feliciano rode Torsion.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And he eventually found his niche as a sprinter. As with all these horses, they go on the classics. And then, here we go. Francis just texted me. In '73, the year he was a 3-year-old, he made 20 starts and he had 4 wins.
20 starts?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. 20 starts. Amazing. This is a very unusual, it feels like a very unusual pedigree on Tuscan Gold. And at the same time also, with Chad, it feels like, this is really an MO. It's almost like a Woody Stevens, how Stevens would identify his Belmont horse.
Yeah,
and in fact,
exactly. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I meant. And that's what I meant also is that the trainer is so heavy here, yet if you were to just look at it on pedigree, you wouldn't pick this horse as a potential Preakness winner. So I think the trainer gets the nod over the pedigree here.
Well, and he's had these somewhat lightly raced candidates that that he brings here. So Tuscan. Let's also touch on Seize the Gray and some thoughts on the Arrogate, who stretches back out to a route of ground after the Pat Day Mile win, where he really was good. I know the race didn't come back all that fast, but he was excellent there. And Torres is a big opportunity for Jamie Torres.
Yeah, the only right after the race, if you recall, Lucas said, that's it. He's a miler. And that's where, and then the next thing you know, of course, he gets an opportunity to go to the Preakness. I don't know. I mean, he looks like a miler. He ran like a miler. And, even though on pedigree, he should be able to get any distance. What do you do here? Go against what the trainer said?
Sure.
And say, right after he won the race. When Lucas said that, and he was very, very strident in his remarks, I was like, oh, wow, that's great. He thinks this horse is a miler, and that's all he wants to go. But, Lucas also likes to be in the classics, and he got a grade 2 winner. Why not go? I don't know. On pedigree, he's very suited for it.
Yes, and in fact we'll talk about that between Arrogate on top and then the female family, Smart Strike Dam.
Yes,
Second
Smart
Dam,
Strike, Wild Again, Private Account,
Majestic Prince.
Yeah, first 4 dams are all those sires, and they're all, a cursory look at this pedigree tells you this horse can definitely stay, and he's got speed for the mile, so why not? I don't know. That's what makes this interesting.
I would make the case also. In fact, Andy mentioned it from a betting standpoint yesterday. But part of that decision-making process on Seize the Gray might have to do with my racehorse and their desire to.
That is, I wasn't going to say it myself, but that is a great point.
Yeah.
When a company like that has a chance to take all its clients to the Classic, that alone is worth huge advertising, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean that's obvious. That's part of the appeal here. And you know what? The way things have turned out, he's now the other Speed essentially. And,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we'll see how. And I mean, Dettori, this situation with no Muth. Dettori's going to look inside and see what Torres is doing with Seize the Gray, and I'm sure he'd be happy to graft on and stalk him up close and press, it feels like that's your pace, and Tuscan Gold and Mystic Dan will sit. Third, fourth, third. In some, they'll probably pair up as well, right behind.
Yeah. And to move on from a pedigree perspective, not just strictly pedigree, but just bloodstock perspective, there's an interesting horse with imagination. And here's what it is. Not only is he by Into Mischief, who's obviously had 2 Derby winners. Here's what's really interesting, and this colt was, by the way, $1 million, $1,050,000 yearling. Here's what's interesting about this colt. The same trainer, ownership, and breeder are now going for their 3rd Classic. They combined with the same sire with Authentic to win the Derby. Last year, they came back with National, what's his name?
Treasure.
National Treasure to win the Preakness, and now they're going in with Imagination. Well, the owners, it's the SF Group. The trainer, it's Bob Baffert, but the breeder is Peter Blum, who bred Authentic as well as National Treasure, and now Imagination. Now, how interesting would that be, right? For the same combo to win their 3rd Classic in 5-6 year period. That would be phenomenal.
Huh. There was another breeding element too that
you seemed underwhelmed by what I thought was my.
No, it was not at all. Not underwhelmed. Not at all. It is well worth noting. I thought there was another. Maybe it's from another race. There was another pedigree oddity or notation that caught my eye last night that I've got to dig in from the 2 days. And I'm glad I did not overanalyze this race because of my question also is how we're going to end up weather-wise too, and what kind of racetrack we're gonna have. I will say this: it feels like things are to some degree breaking Mystic Dan's way. And as if it wasn't already, being hyped and the excitement level wasn't sky high at Saratoga for the Belmont at Saratoga, a Triple Crown try at Saratoga would send this thing off the charts.
Unbelievable,
right?
wouldn't it?
It should be crazy.
Yeah.
It'd be nuts.
And let's face it, it's a great possibility too.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, Mystic Dan won the Derby. He seems to be, he's being handled really well. The only thing with this, getting back to the trainer again, until the trainer decided to go for this race, he had said previously, this horse does not do well on 2 weeks rest, and documented several instances where the horse flopped coming back. So you've got in Lucas, you've got in Kenny McPeek, and you got in Chad Brown trainer comments conflicting with other comments. What's the real deal? That's what the puzzle is here. Just to recap, Chad Brown says Tuscan Gold has never been better. He's got a track record of coming into this race. Even when he's won it a few times, even when he didn't, he ran second by a head last year. But Medaglia d'Oro has never done well in the classics. That's him. You go to Lucas, says this horse is a miler. That's what he wants to do. We talked about the circumstances that are probably leading this horse into the race. That's that. You go to Kenny McPeek with Mystic Dan. He can't come back in 2 weeks. Oh, no, he's doing great. We're going for it. There's a lot of stuff to analyze that's not in the past performances. That's not in the pedigrees. That's almost the human motives and the human comments. So that you got to parse through that as well, I think, when you look at this. And by the way, this race has also had a history of, local horses pulling upsets.
Well, that's one of the great, aspects of Preakness history, and local horses that, and even if they don't win, I mean, yesterday we talked with Mig about Magic Weisner's terrific second, and Richie actually laid out a case that he could have won in 2002. So he got a good second out of it, but obviously deputed testimony is the name that comes to mind.
Aloma's Ruler,
BBB.
Sure. The
BBB story is one of my favorites, and I got to hear it firsthand from Del Carroll, and Del talked about how it was a week like this leading up.
It was the swamp, wasn't it?
Exactly. And they knew first of all, he loved. I mean, there's the mud mark and the double mud mark. Andy Sterling actually explains that there's actually very few horses who legitimately move up in wet. That a lot of times.
And one of them, Andy will know from the 70s, was Cintillo. Who had the double mud mark.
Well, BBB and Del told me the whole story because he came out. He had raced the week before, and they knew the forecast the whole week was going to be rain, and that Riva Ridge, there was some question about his wet track ability, and Del said he said to his dad, he said he's doing really well, and Red Carroll called Mr. Farish and said, we're going to have a wet track Saturday, and he's doing great. And Farish told him, enter him. If you think he can run well, enter him. And that's how. And the only reason I ever got that story was because of Funny Side. When I was handicapping that Preakness, and I came across Midway Road for Neil Howard. And I said to him, I kind of looked through and I thought, when was the last time Farish ran a horse in the Preakness? And I'm going back. I'm looking through every chart, Sid. And all of a sudden, I get to BBB. I'm like, are you kidding me? It hasn't run a horse in the Preakness since 72? And I called Del, and I said, Del, would Farish run this Midway Road on a lark? And he said, absolutely not. He said, that horse has got to be doing great. And then he told me the story of BBB.
Wow, that's a great story.
And of course,
BBB really was Parrish's first horse.
First big horse?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, and of course, it also, there's one of the sidebars to BBB's win was 54-year-old Eldon Nelson, who I think 54, who I think at the time, because it was well in advance of Shoemaker winning, became the oldest jock to win a Triple Crown race.
Oh wow!
I think so. Either just the Preakness, oldest Preakness winning jock, or I think oldest to win a.
Classic.
I think so. And until Shoemaker, on Ferdinand, right?
Yeah.
That was. I think that eclipsed it. I'll check on that. That's one of those. That's one of those that's in the file cabinet of the brain that you have to go back and and check to remember if you remembered it correctly. But no, I love that story. And actually, Joe Clancy, who's going to join us later, Joe last year, was it last year or the year before? Might have been the year before on the anniversary. He wrote a whole story about that Preakness, about BBB, and about Del Carroll Sr. And of course, one of the real tragedies in racing history, Sport and Life, and being killed by Sport and Life. It's for those that don't know the name Del Carroll. Del Carroll was one of the most brilliant horsemen of his, not just of his generation. He's one of the greatest polo players in American history.
Yeah,
and a breeder of. I think, if I'm not mistaken, basically had the man of war of polo ponies. That he's got like the Herod of all the great polo ponies for generations. His pony sire.
Yeah.
As we go,
Sport and Life, by the way, incidentally, was also Farish.
Yeah, well, he was, and if people want to look up the story, he was a notorious rogue and a difficult horse. And Del Carroll was famous for handling difficult horses, and took him out at Keeneland on a foggy morning, and no one knows exactly what happened, but they found out. They found Del either dead or close to dead when Sport and Life came back to the barn, and no one knows exactly how it all happened, but really. A legendary horseman. That story is in Mid-Atlantic, the Mid-Atlantic magazine that Joe and the old Steeplechase Times team are responsible for. I'll try to find that for people. It's a tremendous story.
Yeah.
And speaking of veteran journeyman jockeys, 20 years ago today, Smarty Jones. We'll probably listen to the Smarty Jones call.
Nice.
Well, Sid, we've meandered in several directions. Do you have an official exacta play here, or any specific Preakness play?
Well, I'm going to again a footnote to this because he's a client of ours, but I am going to go with Catching Freedom.
Wow.
I think he's going to be ignored, like you mentioned.
I agree.
And the horse didn't do anything wrong in the Derby. He's won at a mile and 3/16 in the Louisiana Derby. And he seems like a horse that's not going to, the race didn't take too much out of him. I think he can come back. And I think he'll be better than what people think price-wise.
I agree. Because I don't think even with the field, I mean, maybe he'll come down a couple of ticks, but I think people are going to evaluate the pace and think that he's disadvantaged, and I do think he's a little disadvantaged by it.
Yeah, I think he is as well. But I think the pace is actually, when a horse like Moose gets out, it emboldens other people.
That's
to think,
true.
Oh, we can, and it could end up faster.
Yep, somebody might get aggressive. You're not wrong about that.
Yeah, and for an exacta play, just to stay away from the favorite, I'm going to throw Pedigree out with this Medaglia d'Oro Schneid in the Classics, and I'm going to go with the fact that it's Chad Brown for underneath
the Tuscan Gold.
Catching Freedom.
All right.
Yeah.
So 3-8 for Sid in the Preakness.
Yeah, there you go.
Excellent.
Stamp that.
All right. Sid, this is great. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'll talk to you next week.
You got it, and we'll be 2/3 of the way through. Sid Fernando, everybody, Sire Watch, Pedigree Focus, brought to you by Hill and Dale. And actually, that topic that came up yesterday with Pete Bradley, Sid, kind of was the one who tripped that conversation a few years ago with Peter about the brokering of stallion seasons, and the ability to have somebody like Peter make a deal for you. Sid does that too. I mean, Sid can do it, but Peter, as Woodbury actually said earlier too, he really kind of pioneered that, it seems. So we'll take a break. About it's. Yikes, it's 10 of. Let's check. It's post time, actually, in the last at Happy Valley. Let's see what's going on. I also want to check the scratches, see if they're up at Indy. 4-9 in the 8th. At Happy Valley. So if you played the double, you're live to the 126. So 770. Angus Chung aboard for Tony Cruz. And let's see what kind of prices on these three. The 126. So the 1 is 5-1. The 2 is the 9-5 favorite. And the 6, you should be rooting for the 6, 8-1. Never too soon. All right, so if you played the double, good luck. All right, you're going to go 3/4 here to close it out. All right, because I love all the history, and of course the 15th is a magic number because it starts to really trigger anniversaries of Preaknesses. Looking at Lucky, he won 14 years ago today. First dude, Jackson Bend, chased him home. Smarty Jones, as mentioned, and we'll see about that. We'll probably listen to a Smarty cut. Charismatic started or continued his bid. Charismatic with Antley, and he was 1-2. He was the 5th choice. I mean, I know that he surprised in the Derby, but 5th choice, he paid $18.80. Wow. Menifee was 2-1. Cat Thief was 5-1. Worldly Manor 5-1, and Excellent Meeting 6-1. 5th choice off the Derby win. Wow. Back after this, back to Pimlico. Hi-ho, stay here.
At the Races with Steve Vick on Sirius XM Radio.
The PA Horse Breeders Association has a remarkable story to tell. North America's most lucrative awards program also produces Grade 1 winners year after year. Of all the great PA breds, none is more well-known, more iconic than Smarty Jones. We salute Smarty on the 20th anniversary of his wins in the first two jewels of the 2004 Triple Crown, at the time becoming only the third ever undefeated Preakness champ.
Racing 2-year-olds in California, Kentucky, please consider Bleeder Shield, the leading all-natural paste used to greatly reduce or eliminate EIPH. The list of trainers who trust Bleeder Shield is endless. Shouldn't you join the team? To learn more, contact Joseph Volante at 215-501-6880.
Betting on. How about an app created specifically for horse racing? Naira Bets. We specialize in thundering hooves, fist pumping, and boosting your bankroll with robust weekly promotions, and offer betting tips from actual horse racing experts. Bet all day and night, nationwide. Get the action and thrill of horse racing with Naira Bets. $200 deposit match with promo Steve200. Visit NairaBets.com for details.
The Bonds family's Country Life and Maryland Farms are the place for breeding and racing in the Mid-Atlantic. Country Life is nationally recognized for making stallions and curly stands, the Mid-Atlantic's leading first and second crop sires, Divining Rod by Tappan and Mosler by Warfront, as well as Frisian Fire. Maryland's 5/8 mile training track completes the full-service facilities from the folding barn to the racetrack. Join the excitement of racing with Country Life Farm, where our partnerships can take you from beginning to winning.
Want to know a secret? The Massachusetts breeding program pays huge bonuses for finishing first, second, or third at any racetrack in the country. You didn't know that, did you? Mass breds get paid up to an additional 25% of their purse earnings for the owner, and breeder, and stallion owner, and developer. It's the best kept secret in racing, till now. Tell all your friends, and to learn more, visit massbreds.com.
Whether you're new to the racing game or just looking to enhance your operation, Hermitage Farm in Goshen can help you. We are conveniently located between Churchill Downs and Keeneland Racecourse and near world-renowned equine hospitals. With spacious paddocks, expert staff, and qualified veterinarians, we offer full-service boarding, breeding, and sales preparation, as well as post-operative care and lay-up services. Visit us in person or online at hermitagefarm.com.
Sirius XM Sports presents At the Races with Steve Vick. Horse racing, handicapping, interviews. This is At the Races with Steve Vick.
We're back. Just looking outside. It feels like, all right, it feels like the rain is moderated, or at least paused. Very overcast, and I think we're just going to have to. I think we're going to have to sweat this out, frankly. For those of you that did mount up a double, you're a winner because the favorite did come through. The two co-partner Prance with Zach Purton. And so we'll see. I don't think you get will pay. No, you don't get will pay options. But well, there's probables. No, just exacta. All right, but as is often the case, if Dick gets tripped up in that first leg, he comes right back and gets it done. In either one of the races, or not. And a treat that I was hoping for is going to come off. Stu Elliott, Stewie, you got a couple of minutes? Fantastic. Stuart Elliott joins us on the 20th anniversary. Those 20 years went by fast, Stu.
Yes, they did.
Well, for one thing, your son grew up and is riding out there with you.
Yeah, isn't it? It's unbelievable. It's just like the other day, he was getting on a pony that was a little tiny pony, and, now he's riding thoroughbreds.
I know from Lane Luzzy and Mike, and whenever there's been this opportunity, to still be riding, with your son, or in some cases daughter, for the Asmussens, it's the brothers out there for Steve, and of course you're very close to that outfit as well. It's really got to be very special.
Yes, it is. It is. Like you say, a lot of times, it doesn't work out where the father gets to ride with the son. Usually the father's retired by then.
Exactly. And you, speaking of which, you show no signs of slowing down.
Well, everything's good. So let's just say that,
That's it. Knock on wood. Take us back. We've been running the Pennsylvania breeders have been running an ad, and it's what got in my head to reach out, because it's 20 years ago, and one of the most engaging stories. Smarty Jones has run through the Triple Crown and the Try at Belmont, but this was the last win, and literally 20 years ago today. Take us back to post Derby and the second leg for Smarty and you and the Chapmans. And
yeah,
John,
it was unbelievable, really. It was a dream come true. I just hoped the whole time that, that everything went good. How races are, anything can happen in a race. I just wished for the whole time that if we did get beat, that it was fair and square without anything, like getting left in the gate or anything, like that.
Coming here, I'll talk to Tony Black tomorrow, but when you came here, how often had you ridden at Pimlico at that point?
I had ridden at Pimlico. Actually, I was there for one. I think it was around '96. I went there for one. I did the Maryland circuit, but not a lot. Besides that, I'd been in and out from Philadelphia, but not a whole bunch.
Looking at, let me turn back to where is it? There it is. I had it here a minute ago. One of the interesting things about this performance, the presence of Rock Hard 10 and Eddington, who would then become very prominent 3 weeks later in New York.
Yeah. He was able to just, he was the best horse. He was the best horse. So, he just, like I said, he had to just, as long as everything went good, I don't think they were going to beat him,
I had forgotten actually how much of a romp this was. You coming off the turn, you were already in charge, and he ends up winning by 11.5.
Yeah, he went very easy. He just tracked the horse on the lead, and then the horse on the lead drifted out a little bit, and he comes through on the inside, and he just cruised around there.
Well, and wins by 11.5 on the chart, and at that point, there was a lot of engagement coming out of Derby, but at that point, the Triple Crown, and I guess it was, now that I look at that chart, I realized that some of the added hype, Stu, was how how much authority he had won by, essentially, and that who's going to beat him in New York. That ended up being kind of the. Now I realize or remember why it was such to some people a foregone conclusion that he would win the Belmont.
Right.
Now I'm trying to tee this up, and I've had internet issues all day here, and I cannot get I cannot get this thing to play on. I don't think. This is brutal, just ridiculous. No, I wanted to play this for you. That's a question. How often do you go back and look at his races?
Every once in a while, we'll go back and look at it. My son Christopher, he likes to look at it once in a while, and we all do, So every few times a year, I guess we'll look at it,
How old was he? Was he too young to remember? Yeah, right. He was. Yeah, he was an infant.
He wasn't born for a couple more years.
Okay, so he's 19 now?
He just turned 18.
18, wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
His path, Stuart, what was his path? I mean, did he have just an absolute overwhelming desire to ride did you try to steer him away from it or did you encourage it?
No, I just let him do whatever he wanted to do. I didn't push him either way. But young kids, they change their mind all the time. He wanted to do this, and then he wanted to do that, and he really didn't know what he wanted, But then I guess when he was about 14... When he was about 14, he started to show more interest, like he'd watch the races. Because early, he never really watched the races. But when he was about 14, he started showing interest. And I still didn't really, expect that I didn't know what he wanted. I didn't know if he really wanted to ride, but he was showing more interest. And then, 15, 16, he really then decided that that's what he wanted to do.
Well, and he looks good on a horse too. I mean, how quickly? How quickly was he riding? Had he ridden horses much before his teens?
Well, he had, but kind of off and on, because with us moving all the time, like when I was based in Philadelphia, I had a place there. I had a small farm, and our neighbor had a pony, and we got him riding the pony, and of course he was still young, like 7 years old, and then we left there, and I was in Kentucky for a while, where we didn't have really access to much, so he didn't really ride there. Then when we went to California, I was there for 3 years, and we got him going again there. We got him going pretty good there, actually. There was a little riding school down not too far from Santa Anita, and the lady there, Shelley, she had used to work on the track. She had galloped horses in that. Well, she had this riding school, and she had a lot of ponies and stuff. So got him going again there, pretty good. He was riding maybe 2 or 3 times a week, the ponies. And then after 3 years there, I went to Hot Springs, and then Kentucky, and then after a while there, we end up on this Oklahoma-Texas circuit, where we got him going again pretty good when he got to Oklahoma. So he did, but he had some gaps in there,
Sure. And then it became, then obviously it became, he became serious about it, and no stopping him at that point.
Right. So when he actually started in Oklahoma at another riding school like that, and then we sent him to Ocala. His uncle, Richard Bracho, he rides. He's a jockey. He's goes to Ocala, so he was in Ocala. So we sent him down to there where he got on a lot of babies, and that really helped him a lot. And then he came back, I guess a couple of years. That's about a year and a half that he actually got his first job galloping on the racetrack for Sarah Davidson, who trains, in Texas, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And she really helped him a lot, got him galloping, and, then he got to work some horses and go to the gate and stuff like that. So he's been on the track for like a year and a half. So that's really helped him a lot too,
Unbelievable. It's a great story, and the opportunity to be alongside it's got to be amazing. I mean, and there's been a lot of family storylines, with Brian Hernandez and his brothers, and most notably Colby, and it's a family in a lot of ways. It's very family oriented. Let me try this, Stu. I think maybe we're teed up here. It's been a very frustrating morning for internet, but let me see if we can listen to Dave Rodman and the 2004 Preakness, second jewel for Smarty, Stu Elliott, John Service, and the Chapmans.
Lionheart and Smarty Jones, but Smarty Jones is ahead of Lionheart in the opening 16th mile. Imperialism is in third. Rock Hard 10 came away in good order, followed by Song of the Sword. Sir Shackleton cannot run with Lionheart, who has now taken the lead from Smarty Jones. Then we go back to Eddington. Toward the tail is Borrego and Water Cannon, second last position, and Little Math Man is the trailer. Lionheart and Mike Smith, they are off the rail in about the 4-path around that first turn. Leading the way, Smarty Jones is tracking at the 7/8 mark in second. Clearly taking second now from Song of the Sword. Imperialism is kept close by Kent Desormo. Sir Shackleton in between horses. Jerry Bailey has Eddington about 5 lengths off that lead. A length and a half break. Borrego's racing down to the inside. Rock Hard 10 is off the inside as expected. He's about 7 lengths from the front, followed by Water Cannon second last, and Little Math Man trailing the field, and they're strung out by 11 lengths. 23 3 the opening quarter, the half 47 1/5 of a second. A very reasonable pace. Lionheart and Mike Smith nursing along. Here is Smarty Jones running right there the second spot with a half mile left to go. Song of the Sword is coming under pressure, followed by Sir Shackleton, and Smarty Jones takes that invitation on the inside of Lionheart at the 3/8 pole. Lionheart leads the way. Smarty Jones can pass on left at the 5/16 marker, and now Rock Hard 10 is third. Imperialism in fourth. Sir Shackleton, Eddington is next in Borrego, and the stage is set at the quarter pole, and Smarty Jones has taken over and comes roaring into the Pimlico home stretch and opens up 3 lengths. Lionheart second, Rock Hard 10 is third. Imperialism is toiling in fourth with a furlong to go. The Pimlico home stretch belongs to Smarty Jones. Will the Triple Crown belong to Smarty Jones? There they are. Stuart Elliott, the jockey. Smarty Jones, he's perfect, a picture of perfection, and he dominates to win by 10. Rock Hard 10 was second at
There's Dave Rodman's call, Stu. Watching it too, Mike Smith tried to float you out into the first turn.
Yeah. But like I say, he was a good horse, and he just, as long as I just kind of had dead aim on him the whole way,
Yeah. No, you can tell you're completely loaded in there with him, and when he comes off the turn and gets upright, he just burst out to that 3-length lead, and of course, you don't know it at the time, right? That that's going to be the last win.
Right.
It's the bone bruise and it just it was so special, and I having listened, I hear the ads. We run the ad from the Pennsylvania people, and there was such pride and pleasure in his exploits, and Chuck Simon and I campaigned. We had a couple of Smarty Jones offspring.
Okay.
We loved, that Three Chimneys that with Case Clay got to us. Redboard King that Tony won on. Tony had a winner for us on a Smarty Son, and then we had we had one that was incredibly handsome and talented, who got hurt, named Lloyd Dobler, that was, really cut out, and he looked like Smarty. He had the blaze, chestnut, and he was a hard luck horse. He
really.
That was one you wish you could. You say you wish you had it back, but you know what it's like. You just there's horses that don't have luck, and things go sideways for them.
Sure, that's what makes it. That's why. You just never know with them, what can happen, or how they're gonna stay, if they're gonna stay sound, or anything can happen,
Exactly. We only got our hands on him because he colicked before the Keeneland sale, and so they pulled him out of the sale. They needed surgery.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So. And then he ran into a big horse of Al Gold's, and he missed by a Zop. Mig rode him with a broken neck, literally. He didn't know it at the time, but he rode him with a broken neck and got beat the narrowest of margins by Channing Hill. On a good horse too. On one of the early good Tappets.
Okay.
And then he strained something in his hind end, and he just just unbelievable. It went one of those horses that was cut out to be a good horse, and it just didn't go. Well, you got a good one, and not that you haven't ridden plenty more, but this was one that obviously, Stuart. What does it mean to you in retrospect, looking back?
Oh, just I'm just thrilled that I had a horse like that, that came along for me, and to go as far as winning those races, the Derby, the Preakness, and it's just something special. It just I feel very grateful because. Doesn't happen a lot of. Look at the jockeys that have ridden in the Derby many times and have never been able to, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard, So it actually hit me like the following year, 2005, I watched the Derby, and it really hit me because so many horses, so many things can happen. Even the best horse doesn't have to win, with a big field like that. And especially in our case, the track had come up sloppy and everything, we didn't know, is he going to handle the mud? He'd never really been in the mud or had mud thrown at him. Just so many things can happen. And it was just like... how everything worked out was just unbelievable.
Well, you fold in the Chapmans and Pennsylvania. It's one of those things that helped, that really helped, Pennsylvania breeding and galvanized interest in the game, the gaming. The support that Pennsylvania enjoys to this day, from the state government and the three racetracks across the state. between Parks, Penn, and Presque Isle. So I mean, Smarty did a lot for a lot of people, and I didn't want this 20th anniversary to go by without Plus, I wanted to congratulate you on Chris and his success, and stay healthy and best wishes, Stuart. I appreciate this.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Not at all. And Rich Migliori just sent a note, and Tony, you'll probably hear from Tony later as well. We got a lot of jocks that listen, and Chuck Baltazar, and your career. I mean, your career, Stuart. How this is rude. How old are you?
59.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Did you expect to ride this long?
No, not really. You know how this game is. You just kind of go along and you do the best you can. You have good years, you have bad years, and you just, the years go by and we're still going. I just take it, meet to meet, see how things go, and things are good. So, as long as things are good and I feel good and my weight's good, so we'll just see what happens.
It's tremendous. And obviously, I mean, this is an era, when you see what Smith has done, what Mike Smith did, and even Stevens when he came back from the knee injury, obviously what Perry Oots does on a daily basis is amazing. I mean, it's insane, actually, that he's still at it. So yeah, if you're healthy, you've won. I wanted to pull up the number: 5,678 wins in your career.
Okay,
it's unbelievable. You got Tony. You got Tony Black beat.
Yeah, that's saying something there, huh?
Right? I love it. Now, Stuart, continued success, and tell Chris we'll love to get him on when he gets his first big win, his big stake win, and always great to talk to you. I thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Not at all. Stuart Elliott, everybody, and Smarty Jones, 20 years ago today on this oval. Amazing. Joe Clancy is going to join us, but he's holding me off with a whip and a chair because he's doing some of the handicap numbers for the steeplechase crowd, and he says he and Gallo are grappling right now. So I'll give him. I've got to get Seth anyway. Let's get Seth Merrow going, and we'll get some of Seth's thoughts. Graham Motion apologized. He ended up having too busy of a morning as well. So at this point, we'll probably save. Chances are Graham's going to win something over the weekend. So we probably won't reach him until this point, till Monday, because we'll start handicapping everything Thursday for Friday. So we'll get Seth and we'll get Joe Clancy, and we'll call it a Wednesday. So you may have seen that we tweeted the news from Indianapolis. They ended up canceling the card, and you know what? In some ways, it's probably for the best, considering that you had two serious nice groups of open company turf stakes. So I'm guessing that between the track condition and potential for thunderstorms and maybe more, I mean, they're a little bit of a tornado alley. Indianapolis has canceled, and they'll reschedule the stakes, and we'll find out from Eric Ahlstrom what the plan is. Seth Merrow, good morning.
Good morning. I was following your tweets and whatnot from Nashville, and that was quite impressive for a snap decision.
It was the 10-year-old this 10-year-old scenario, and I guess I don't imagine NYRA will reconsider this or make exceptions for steeplechase horses. Because that's all you need is God forbid something go wrong with one, and there'd be a huge outcry. It's one of the weird dialogue out there that the steeplechase is dangerous. It's more dangerous than flat racing. It's just not true. I mean, it's the horses, for starters, the horses are going slower, to start with, and negotiating jumps. I mean, jumping is something they do in the wild and they do naturally. So, I mean, the idea that it's more dangerous than particularly dirt racing, Seth, right? I mean, horses going 38, 40 miles an hour. Yes, it's a more dangerous undertaking than chasing. But if a 10-year-old went wrong and if it landed badly, and it does happen, but I saw Joe Clancy tweeted out. A lot of people were like, "Hey, maybe they can suspend the rule or get a waiver." And Joe was kind of just what you said. The worst case scenario is not worth it. No, it is not. Well, we've had a major piece of news that Muth's scratch, and that it won't dampen enthusiasm for Saturday, but it does change the complexion of this race. Yeah, it's I've said all along, as a Saratoga guy, and with the Belmont being up here, I am certainly rooting for Mystic Dan, but I have not pulled the trigger yet and gone full in on handicapping, so I'm not sure which direction I'll wind up going. But with Muth out, Mystic Dan becomes far more of an interesting play to me. Tuscan Gold is probably going to be right there, and so I'll probably debate between one or the other as my top pick on Saturday. Well, and as it happens, the Tuscan Gold crowd that would have loved to have seen anything close to the original morning line. Yeah. And they weren't going to get it. I mean, if you wanted a line that felt more accurate, the one that David Aragona put together probably was the more accurate, 5-1. And now, he's going to come way down. He's going to be the quote unquote beneficiary of Muth's absence in terms of betting proposition. Catching Freedom is interesting to me too. I think the horses that come out of the Derby are always interesting, regardless of where they finish. And so, Catching Freedom, that they elect to come back, has some interest as well. It'll be interesting to see what he goes off at, also. Well, and I made that suggestion earlier that David had him at 4-1, and I think the perception is going to be that that the speed is going to be impacted, the pace is going to be impacted by Muth's absence, and that hurts Catching Freedom. I mean, he's never been. I mean, look, you look at. Let's see. Here's. At first call, he was 8.5 back and 8 1/4 back in the Louisiana Derby and the Kentucky Derby. He was 8.5 and 8 3/4 back in the Louisiana Derby. At the half mile, he was 7 3/4 back in both races. So I mean, he's going to be last early. It would appear. I mean, I guess Mugato is another one with no early speed. And Butchie Reed told us earlier this week on Monday that he expects to drop out of it and make one run.
which we'll see how that, as you're
If that
alluding to, how that
changes.
works. But Muth dropping out does change. And I think people who are doing some or have done some early handicapping are now going back to the PPs to reassess, which I think you have to do given the situation this morning.
No doubt. No doubt. We've also got the weather to deal with, what's
the prediction? Because I've heard a couple of things either way.
I don't think there's any point other than to know that there's precipitation expected, and at some point it might be late in the afternoon and after the fact essentially, or I think tomorrow on Thursday is when 48 hours out is when I think you start to take it seriously, because it's been it's been all over the place the last 2-3 days. So I have no idea other than to know that we're going to at some point there'll be some. All I know is it can't be any worse than it was for American Pharaohs when that one. I will never forget. We were in the infield. I'll never forget firing line with his chin tucked down in his chest and his head cocked as the rain was coming sideways, and he was just miserable. You could tell he had no interest in being out there. That was some day. That it's funny. I watched I saw where Larry Colmus retweeted a clip from Justify's Preakness, and the fog. That was a bizarre Preakness scene.
Any race day where you get that fog, I always feel for the announcers who are left just guessing, and oftentimes they go to the camera that's when they're on the backstretch, they'll pop the backstretch shot up, and they're looking at the monitor just the way we the public have to, and so they're up against it on those kind of days. And when it's a big race day, then you really feel for them, because you only want to do the best they can, but it's near impossible.
It was with the positioning of the cameras. I mean, you could pretty much tell. I got a great picture of Tina, because we came downstairs. We had been up. I think we were on the third floor, and we came down to track level. And I've got this very funny picture of Tina with the field moving behind her. And it was eerie. It was, because of not that any of us haven't been at the track or watched on a foggy day, especially New York. I mean, when the fog rolls in off Jamaica Bay, we get that a few times a year, but under the setting of a Triple Crown race, and there
was the Birdstone victory in the Travers,
right,
which was I can remember walking down out of the press box and standing kind of in the top of the stairs near the box seats, and there was a box there. All the boxes had the weather on their TVs, and there was a big red blob right over us, and the lights were on in the building, and it was dark. Mary Lou Whitney went out there and got soaked, and I don't blame her winning the Travers. But yeah, that was an odd weather day too.
Well, as we've as we've discussed before, the Greg Montgomery print of that is one of my absolute favorites. The purple and yellow sky, and it really captured what it was like. I mean, it was so ominous and so strange. I mean, there's been this morning when I walked out, actually, and on my way here, it was cold and windy, and I thought about a Preakness when we were doing the barbecue. I mean, it's mid-May, And there was a morning, Seth, it was in the 30s. It was in the 30s, and it was raining and windy, and I mean, I just remember being numb. And, we have to get there. We would get there at 5 a.m. and basically start cooking. I mean, you start to get pans and pans and pans of the barbecue ready. And I just remember being, not just me, I remember the kids that were in the infield. They came and they were like standing close to the carts. We would line up about 6 or 8 carts and have like a blockade at the stands. And there were kids that were like leaning up against it, trying to stay warm. I mean, it was like a winter day. And the Preakness is the funniest because you would get that, and you could also get like I don't know, 85-degree temperatures and broiling hot. It's something you don't know how to prepare for this.
We know that type of spring right here in upstate New York, though. They can go either way. I saw your tour of the artwork, and did you check in? I'm assuming that all goes to the new facility, right? It has to.
I have not. I'll ask today. I mean, Dave, Joseph, and I have talked about for a couple of years in advance of the building. The replacing of the building, and all of my photographs that for years, and I'll start putting some up this afternoon. I got a quiet afternoon. They've all been moved. And as it happens, I'm glad this came up because over at the Maryland Library, Cricket Goodall, and they've got a sale today and tomorrow. If you're in the area, and our correspondent. Leslie Knopf, the Maryland Horse Library and Education Center, and they've got a book sale going on, 11 to 3, right on Main Street in Reisterstown. 321 Main Street in Reisterstown, 11 to 3 today and tomorrow. The Maryland Horse Library and Education Center, which is quite something. But anyway, they've already shipped all of the microfilm and the very delicate negatives, the ones from about 1930 earlier. There was a metal case for that, and then all the photographs, the 2 giant file cabinets of photographs that I've used for years and put up those great black and whites. The great Jerry Fruitkoff, a name as familiar as Bob Collinese in horse photography, racetrack photography. And of course, Jim McHugh, who essentially, Jim has been here, 40 plus years, 45 years. Basically the heir to the Fruitkoff photography. So yeah, they'll say they're going to save everything, and those
have to something like that.
Exactly. Well, and there's been this is a conversation we've had. In fact, Tom Law and I have discussed, and now probably Byron King, who's replaced Tom as the head of the Turf Riders, but historic preservation, because there's been some tracks where buildings have come down, and there has not been, a concerted effort to save historic material. So it's very important. Famously, apparently at Gulfstream, when the original Gulfstream building came down, apparently stuff was just thrown away, thrown into everything. Artwork. artwork. I mean, off the walls and into dumpsters. It's just unbelievable.
It literally is unbelievable. It's crazy. It was nice that the John Henry statue from Arlington out in front of the museum in Saratoga.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, you're not going to. Well, yeah. Were they going to melt it down?
Yeah, it would have been tough to put that in the camp.
Holy cow! Right? I know, unbelievable. What's your schedule for?
I had Horseshoe Indy, and after last Wednesday, I was looking forward to it because I don't usually do it, but had some Horseshoe Indy, so that's out of the mix. So I had some Delaware also, and I'll pull some Thistledown into the mix. You want a couple ideas at Delaware?
Yeah, absolutely. We talked to Chris Sobocinski yesterday, and excited about them. It's a great. Reiterate to people, if you've never been to Delaware, take advantage. It's wonderful.
It really is. It's a really, really nice track. Third race today, we're looking at bottom-level claimers or bottom-ish level claimers, non-winners of 6 furlongs. I'll take a little shot with Pistol or Shotgun. 8-1 on the morning line. Carol Cedeno on board, comes up from Tampa, and I think the Tampa shippers will do nicely on the return to for a lot of them to Delaware. This one raced at Delaware a couple of years ago, back in the fall of 2022, and did pretty well. So I think this one coming up from Tampa to Delaware is going to run much better than that 8-1 price. So Pistol or Shotgun in the third. I have it 1-4, 2-5. 1-4, 2-5 in the third. And then I have another price here in the seventh. Seventh race today, optional claimers, non-winners of 3, going a mile. I'm 5, 1, 4, and 2. The 5 is Loose Ends. Favorite in here, I think the favorite's Instant Coffee for Al Gold. Yep. I thought it was interesting that he wound up here after the Oaklawn Handicap gets in an optional claimer at Delaware. I put him down in the third spot. He's obviously the class of the field, but I'm with Loose Ends, who, another one, if you look, hasn't been seen since back in January, but at Delaware, 6 times in the exact and 6 starts. Cathal Lynch, I just thought this horse would be more interesting than the 12-1. Our Nation Parade also in the mix for me, but I'll take a shot with the price. Loose Ends in the 7th. 5, 1, 4, and 2.
Look at you, 12-1, Loose Ends. Chris yesterday, Chris Sobocinski made Instant Coffee the horse that loves you at Delaware Park.
I like that. I'm interested to see what he's going to do. Obviously, he is the class of the field.
And Seth Merrow is the class of Capital OTV.
We try. Well, people who are in the area on Saturday, we have a Preakness Day bankroll. I'll have $500 to play on behalf of the team. You come in, you put your name in the hat. We randomly select the team, and I'll play, and then everybody splits up the winnings, hopefully big winnings at the end of the day. So that's all the Clubhouse Racebook in Albany on Saturday.
Nice. I'm glad you got that plug in. And I was talking to Brian Dorenzo. We're putting the Spurs to you on the website.
Oh, yeah. No, I got it. I definitely. I'm working. It's in the weeds kind of a thing. I kind of changed the software I was using to edit, and that change put me back a little bit. But I just found another piece of software that I much preferred to what I was using when I was getting going. So it should have been up a while ago, and then I did kind of a restart. But it's coming. It's coming.
All right, let's go. Seth Merrow,
I think people will find it fun, too. So it's going to be a little bit different, much the same. We're not losing anything, but we're adding. So I think people will find it fun.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Seth Merrow, too, everybody. Go see him at the bankroll. And Seth, I appreciate it. I'll be home next week, and I'm starting to reach for the wire, truth be told.
Oh, well, I don't blame you. I mean, it's a nice trip. Tina was with you last in Nashville, though, right?
She came in and got to spend Saturday with her, which was nice, and she really had a good time. And she'll be coming to Baltimore too, and we'll drive home together.
Oh, nice. Oh, speaking of that, are you going to jump on Sunday morning? Or are you going to be on the road?
I always talk to you. I usually from the Bel Air, very typically from the Bel Air Waffle House parking lot, very frequently. So
very, very good. So then that's the game plan. Perfect.
Because what do I have?
Boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground. Bootsy. Seth Barrow, everybody.
Good luck to everybody.
Thanks, Seth. Thanks for the pushes at Delaware. The 1 in the 3rd, the 5 in the 7th. Let's get Joe Clancy in here for the last 15. And that is if he hasn't, maybe people might have been called in to separate him and Joe and Bill Gallo. Pretty funny. They're fighting over weights. Which, if you heard Jack Fisher on Monday, right? You heard Jack talk about it. And here's Joe Clancy. Joe, did you and Gallo come to, were there fisticuffs?
We're still arguing. I'll take a break. I'll take a small break.
Good. Maybe Gallo's probably had enough of you.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I don't know how helpful you can be on those weights, considering you didn't come to Nashville.
There's really good video. Probably better video. Probably easier to do with video than it is to do it live. Actually,
maybe that's true.
Based on where you got to stand at Nashville, you're standing on a fence sometimes.
That's true. We got a big pairing here because I want to get your weekend recap, but also a little bit of your Preakness weekend as well. What are you?
Yeah, at the moment I'm still stuck in Fair Hill. I'm going to Baltimore this afternoon, and we'll finally get a chance to see some horses tomorrow. And obviously we had the big news today with the temperature on Moose. That changes everything.
It does. Do you want to slip in some Preakness thoughts and Preakness memories first, or
sure?
Go ahead.
I probably know more about the memories than I do about this year at the moment because I'm gonna have to do a crash course. People always ask for favorites, right? I mean, and I'm sure that you get it. My favorite working wise was California Chrome, just because I sort of got to know those connections in a short time, and was standing right there. I was out there with Art Sherman during the week, walking to the track, watching horse train. The story was so good. His story was so good that it was fun to tell, And then I somehow lucked in, and I probably told the story before, but the walkover for the Preakness, I was sort of trying to figure out. You're always trying to get background information for the stories we write. You write a long story later, so you need good detail. You need good nuggets that maybe somebody else doesn't have. And I was sort of with the California Chrome group. NBC did a real short interview with Art Sherman, but then because Art Sherman couldn't walk as fast as California Chrome and his son, he ended up by himself sort of behind the horse, and I basically walked all the way to the paddock with Art Sherman, and it was just amazing to hear his thoughts on walking up there to the track and the crowds going crazy, and you can tell how much it meant. And then, like always, the horse has to win for the story to. If he doesn't win, none of it gets told, And the horse wins, and it was really fun, and sort of there were so many layers to that story that it was a cool moment.
I love that.
He had this security guy with him, Damon. I'll never forget. I still see him down there every now and then. He got promoted. He was like just a security guard. Damon Land was the 24-hour, one of the rotating security guys of California Chrome, and his real job was working at the Baltimore City Jail. And he talked about how much nicer it was to come spend a week at Pimlico instead of his real job. I'm like, yeah, I guess so. And by the end, he's carrying buckets and fly sheets and everything for the horse, which was really cool.
That's great. Well, and of course that does give me. You mentioned City Jail. That does give me the pause to mention one of our favorite Baltimore activities. Haven't done it in a while, but the nutshell studies down at the coroner's office. The little dioramas of murder. And it's the craziest. It's the craziest thing. For those that are hearing that for the first time, I will detail it in a thread on Twitter for you this afternoon. But it's one of the crazy activities you can do here in Baltimore. Yeah. So.
It kind of, Baltimore has a weird reputation, obviously, but it is a cool city of neighborhoods, and if you go explore some of the neighborhoods, it's fun. I mean, there's some great spots. My son lives in Baltimore, right near the area of Hamden, sort of. He's just off of Cold Spring Lane, which is sure. One exit down from Pimlico, and there's some really, really cool spots of it.
Well, tomorrow we'll have our conversation with Alan Foreman. Tomorrow is the Alibi Breakfast, one of the great traditions in Triple Crown activity. What started out as trainers outside the racing office explaining why they didn't win the Derby and coming up with the alibis. And I'll put up pictures of that as well because I've got a ton of them that are just fabulous, and a lot of celebrities, and Jim McKay very frequently would MC it, and the Alibi Breakfast is tomorrow. As Johnny D would always say, it's basically for him it was always an excuse to eat fried chicken for breakfast.
As if you need an excuse.
Exactly right. Fried chicken and crab cake for breakfast, the Alibi Breakfast. Well, and we've talked about it over the years too. Your dad ran horses on the undercards, no, on this week.
Yeah, we had a couple. We never made a Preakness, but we ran in a little. It's probably the equivalent of the Sir Barton. I think we were second in that one year, which was fun. And you got a feel for the hoopla of it. He had a horse win the Tessio one year, so we thought we were going to the Preakness. That was 84, which is the year after Deputed Testimony had won it. So it kind of made you think the locals could do it. But he didn't make the race, which happens as we found out today with Moose. But I like that. I mean, it's clearly Preakness weekend is not Derby weekend, but it's still major racing. But I think you get a lot more of the sort of locally based horses, rev it up and take a swing for the Preakness weekend stakes, which is fun.
Well, as it happens, we did the Smarty Jones conversation with Stu Elliott and played Dave Rodman's call May 15th, because obviously, first if the first Saturday in May is May 1st, the third Saturday it could be May 15th. So there's quite a few, particularly after the war. But it just so happens that the 43rd running in 1918, speaking of wars. It just so happens that May 15th is the anniversary also of the one time they split the race, and they ran the Preakness in two divisions.
Wow. I'm glad that doesn't happen today. It's already too much work. I couldn't imagine.
Well, and War Cloud with Johnny Loftus won the first division and paid $5.40, and Jack Hare Jr., who was odds on actually, whose name I'm not nearly as familiar with as War Cloud, and War Cloud was a nice horse, and I'm just who trained here. He went heavily favored. Yeah, he was 4-5. No, Drew, good lead. C Peak is that Clarence? Is that Clarence? Is it Clarence Peak?
That's This was before my time.
All right. War Admiral and Citation also won their Preaknesses on May 15th as well.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty darn good.
No, and Stuart, I did a feature in the May edition of Mid-Atlantic Thoroughbred, sort of looking back at Smarty Jones, the 20 years. It was really fun to catch up with Stuart Elliott about all that. It was really fun.
Well, I referenced you, Joe, earlier, too, because I told the BBB story and the terrific piece you wrote. Was that 2 years ago for the anniversary?
Yeah, same thing. We try to do that if you can find the right tale. So some of them get too. I think somebody asked, well, why didn't you write? It was however many years since Citation, and I'm like, well, there aren't many people around who have a direct connection to Citation. You can still find people with direct connection to some of these other horses, which and it's always fun to kind of dive into them and get the background of them all.
Send me the link if you don't mind, so I can or tweet it so I can retweet it.
Okay, will do.
Can people can still see it online?
Yeah, the Del Carroll thing and the BBB. Yeah, I'm 90% sure. Yes, I know they can. Yeah. I'll tweet it and we can spread it around.
All right, good. We will see you here then tomorrow and through the weekend. But how about we talked to Sean and Jack Fisher on Monday about Snap's win. Thoughts about what we saw at Iroquois?
It was terrific racing, right? I mean, it was some really cool performances. I think, and as good as Snap Decision is, to see a horse like Bay Patron look him in the eye at the last fence, was pretty interesting. And really game effort from both horses, and at level weights on fair ground, going a testing distance like 3 miles. It was a serious race and neat to see. And actually, the first 4 that's kind of what we were struggling with on some of these weights or ratings going forward. The first 4 home were pretty close together there at level weights, which in the race at Middleburg that Snap Decision won, he gave everybody weight and drew off. So it was a good performance by several horses in that race. And Snap, I was there in 1980. I don't know what year, 1980 something, when Uncle Edwin won his 3rd Iroquois. So to watch Snap Decision become the next horse to do it is pretty wild.
Wow.
It's hard to do. I mean, I've gone there lots of times watching, expecting various horses to win their 3rd Iroquois, and it just never seems to happen. I mean, Orton Goodnight Shirt got beat there, and lots of good horses couldn't quite see it through to win a 3rd Iroquois. And the race has been around since 1941, and it's been done twice. And it's not like. They can come back and run in it every year. It's not like a race restricted by age or anything like that. So to see it kind of, Sur La Tête, he was another one. He won 2 in a row and then was second to Goodnight Shirt the next time. Goodnight Shirt won 2 in a row and was second the next time. And the horse Tax Ruling, he tried to do it several times and couldn't quite. He won it twice and couldn't do it. And Demonstrative did it twice. Serious horses have done it twice. Yeah. But Victorian Hill, Mystico, this horse Rowdy Irishman, who would have been really suited to the 3 miles and the stamina test of the Iroquois. He did it twice, but couldn't quite see it out to win it a 3rd time. Uncle Edwin's were 82, 85, and 86, which is pretty crazy to think about that he managed to do it that far apart.
Well, Joe, appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you here. In fact, a lot of times you pop your head in, so we'll maybe get final thoughts. Thursday, Friday.
You've taken over your space there.
Yep.
I like it. We'll see you there.
I don't think it's going to be for the last time, but we'll see. In this spot,
it might be. You never know.
It might be. Joe Clancy, everybody. Joe Clancy 65 on Twitter, and of course Saratoga Special. And this is horseracing.com. We'll send you out into the race day. It's not as we thought. Indy was going to be a big part of it, but they canceled because of the weather. So make Delaware your focus. The horse that loves you thinking about Rich Lake and Jacob. They get rolling there in Stanton. Thanks to Woodbury for stopping by this morning. Woodbury Payne is there with Ferris Allen in the third and fourth. Good luck to Ferris. Dick Powell, HKJC, Sire Watch Pedigree Focus, brought to you by Hill and Dale with Sid. Stewie Elliott, 20 years ago today, he won the Preakness. He and the Chapmans and John Service and everybody. And Seth as well. Seth Brown. Thanks, everybody. Back with you tomorrow. Start handicapping. Look closely at the Friday cards. Talk to you then.
On Sirius XM Radio.
The PA Horse Breeders Association has a remarkable story to tell. North America's most lucrative awards program also produces Grade 1 winners year after year. Of all the great PA breds, none is more well-known, more iconic than Smarty Jones. We salute Smarty on the 20th anniversary of his wins in the first two jewels of the 2004 Triple Crown, at the time becoming only the third ever undefeated Preakness champ.
Racing 2-year-olds in California, Kentucky. Please consider Bleeder Shield, the leading all-natural paste used to greatly reduce or eliminate EIPH. The list of trainers who trust Bleeder Shield is endless. Shouldn't you join the team? To learn more, contact Joseph Vellante at 215-501-6880.
Who you betting on? How about an app created specifically for horse racing? Naira Bets. We specialize in thundering hooves, fist pumping, and boosting your bankroll with robust weekly promotions and offer betting tips from actual horse racing experts. Bet all day and night nationwide. Get the action and thrill of horse racing with Naira Bets. $200 deposit match with promo Steve200. Visit NairaBets.com for details.
The Bonds family's Country Life and Maryland Farms are the place for breeding and racing in the Mid-Atlantic. Country Life is nationally recognized for making stallions and curly stands, the Mid-Atlantic's leading first and second crop sires, Divining Rod by Tappan and Mosler by Warfront, as well as Frisian Fire. Maryland's 5/8 mile training track completes the full-service facilities from the folding barn to the racetrack. Join the excitement of racing with Country Life Farm, where our partnerships can take you from beginning to winning.
Want to know a secret? The Massachusetts breeding program pays huge bonuses for finishing first, second, or third at any racetrack in the country. You didn't know that, did you? Massbreds get paid up to an additional 25% of their purse earnings for the owner, and breeder, and stallion owner, and developer. It's the best kept secret in racing, till now. Tell all your friends, and to learn more, visit massbreds.com.
Whether you're new to the racing game or just looking to enhance your operation, Hermitage Farm in Goshen can help you. We are conveniently located between Churchill Downs and Keeneland Racecourse and near world-renowned equine hospitals. With spacious paddocks, expert staff, and qualified veterinarians, we offer full-service boarding, breeding, and sales preparation, as well as post-operative care and lay-up services. Visit us in person or online at hermitagefarm.com.
me know. Anytime I feature, get me low. Anytime I seek you, let me know. But I better see, just let me grow. I'm on my knees while I'm begging. Beside a wanna lose.
Horse racing, handicapping, interviews. This is At the Races with Steve Beck.
From Soggy, Pimlico, a very good Wednesday race fan. Sirius, I almost said the old number. Sirius 162, XM 207, Sports Zone 999. If you're listening to Sirius XM online and at our website, stevebeck.com, really the first day of inclement, not the nice weather set upon us last night, and the first casualty actually was today's Bree show at Timonium. Postponed. It's just not fair to the 2-year-old preparers. They do all the work, and they get one shot at a breeze. So they're, at the very least, they'd like it. In fact, Woodbury, put that headset on, and we got a treat this morning. We got the one and only, as we call him, the man with 4 names. C. Beal Woodbury Payne. Good morning.
Good morning. Now they're throwing another one at me. Judge.
Oh, because that's true. That's true, because you're up in the stand.
They were throwing that at me downstairs this morning. How are you, Judge?
That's pretty good. All right, so now it's Judge Curtis Beal Woodbury Payne. I love it. There's room for more. Go to law school like Drew Malika. You could be Esquire. Of course, Wood is principally the one of the stewards for National Steeplechase, but also when you're at Saratoga, you're very often like an alternate, like a standby.
Well, I'm the NSA steward, and the Jockey Club steward by law has to step down, and I fill his space, and then I'm a rope accredited flat steward in general. So.
Yeah. So in case there's somebody takes ill or somebody doesn't get the things happen, you can stand in. Is there that? There's always got to be an extra, right? An extra steward hanging around.
Well, New York's blessed because it has some other officials that are rope certified as well, like Juan Dominguez.
Oh, and who has stepped in under the circumstances involving what's her name that was let go?
Yeah,
Samantha. Yeah. I got material for you, so it's very opportune you came up here. And of course Wood's here because there's no Bree show today.
Well, and I obviously have to like you to climb all those stairs to get because I don't risk that one elevator and the other one's broken.
Well, the old elevator, the one that's really retired because they couldn't find the one guy in Baltimore who has fixed it for years. All of a sudden, he just wasn't answering the phone. So I'll put a picture up. It's the funniest thing. They've taken steel plate, like a thin steel plate, and they've bolted it to the doors so that nobody can pry the doors open. And for those of you that ever were fans of L.A. Law, there's the famous exit by one of the lawyers down an elevator shaft. They've sealed those doors.
I think this was Otis's prototype.
This thing. It's one of the great. I never got stuck in it, but there's plenty of supposedly. It may be all apocryphal. It may be all people making up stories.
No, I just spoke to one of the guys that said he was stuck in there for 15 minutes.
Well, 15 minutes is one thing. Yeah. I believe on a Preakness day. Maybe 15, 16, maybe, in the 15 to 18 year ago range. Ray Pollock, I think, is the guy to go to for this. I believe Ray and Ray, if you're listening, you confirm this. A group got stuck in there for like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Well, I think Shane, who works here, was a racing official and got stuck in between races. So.
Well, and this morning, see, the stair climb is usually not completely awful because you got the first escalator from 1 to 2, and then the escalator from 2 to 4. It was big, long, but it wasn't turned on this morning. It's not that it's broken. It wasn't turned on for some reason. So you had to hoof from the second to the fourth, and then there's like a parapet stairs up to the press box level, and it's good. It's good for though. I was huffing a little. I'll admit it. I got to me this morning. Luckily, I keep the equipment up here, so I didn't have to schlep the bag up. But I don't know if you heard yesterday. Peter Bradley was on. How about the 2000 Guineas win?
Peter is excellent.
Yeah,
and I thought Day of the Spa was a great story. This might equal it.
Yeah, he said it's funny that you reference Day at the Spa, because he said I said, where does this fit as for wins, and he said, well, I've always said Day at the Spa, but he said this may get right up there.
Well, I had a half day, so I was rooting for that horse all along.
Which I didn't even realize that.
Of course, it didn't turn out, unfortunately. But anyway,
well, we talked about the marketplace a little bit, and he hadn't been on in a few years, and he's always interesting. And of course, he was the person that between Sid and we'll talk to Sid later this morning, that kind of opened up the world in terms of the ability at this time of year, and not just this time of year, but he brokers stallion seasons.
Yes,
as a business.
He's one of the go-to people for that.
Yeah, and that includes some real opportunities for because not everybody's just operating with a broodmare band. You got people that you may have a mare. You may have a mare that got nicked up in the last 30 days, and now you're thinking, I mean, do we wait? Is 6 months? Is how long is she going to be out? And should we breed her? Yes, you can take her off the racetrack, and there's time. And these late season, there's bargains to be had. I mean, big names.
Yeah,
big names. I taught Tina that. I taught Tina, just because that's the price